This is HRRN, horse racing's voice.
Against the rail, it's Midnight Bourbon. Midnight Bourbon leads them into the final furlong. Leads by 3. Mandaloon and Proxy, they battle it out. It's still Midnight Bourbon. Past the 16th, Midnight Bourbon, Proxy, Mandaloon Gamely. Here it is for Midnight Bourbon. Wins LeCompte. 1 furlong to go. A thriller. Happy American. Mr. Wireless. They battle. Forza de Oro is right there too. Not going down without a fight. It's Happy American for James Graham. Happy American beats Mr. Wireless. Forza de Oro third in the Louisiana Stakes.
Welcome to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
Believe You Can holds on to this lead from Summer Applause and Any Many. Always here to fourth, down to the final 16th of a mile. Believe You Can for Rosie Dubrovnik. Believe You Can. Believe You Can in the Silver Bullet Day. All the way.
California Chrome into the final furlong. He's got a 5-length lead on his competition. It is California Chrome in front. And from the back of the pack on the outside, Commanding Curve is taken second. But California Chrome shines bright in the Kentucky Derby.
Now, here's Mike Penna.
Not a bad way to start your Saturday morning, is it? Kick off your weekend with the voices of John Dooley and Larry Colmus. Good morning once again, everyone. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, saying welcome to the show that launched a network. This is the Equine Forum, and it is all presented by our friends at TwinSpires, and all right here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. As always, you're listening to the show on Sirius 162, XM 207, our affiliates in Lexington, Louisville, and across the country, and streaming worldwide and podcast on our website, horseracingradio.net, or wherever you listen to your podcast. And by the way, that's true not just for this show, but for all of the shows that we bring your way each and every week. And if you missed it yesterday's Trainer Talk show, presented by Fasig-Tipton, was a tribute to the late Leo O'Brien. In 2015, I spent an hour visiting with Leo, talking about his life and his career. And it was, believe it or not, even though that interview was 10 plus years ago, the conversation was still relevant because of the fact that over the past decade or so, he had been slowing down, scaling back, if you will, not saddling as many winners. So much of what we discussed, or almost all of what we discussed on that 1-hour program in 2015, were things that would be relevant if we were talking with Leo today. And, of course, we know we lost Leo, and I wanted to do something to honor him. So we replayed that show for you yesterday, and it's out there as a podcast. You can go check it out. Go to horseracingradio.net, search Leo O'Brien. It will pull up that entire 1-hour conversation. It is a feel-good hour. I promise you, you will love it. Make sure you do that, and do that with all the shows we bring your way. The LeCompte Stakes is in the spotlight today, the Silver Bullet Day as well. The LeCompte offering 20 points to the winner for a spot in the starting gate of the Kentucky Derby. You have the Silver Bullet Day, also at the fairgrounds, offering 20 points to the winner for a spot in the starting gate of the Kentucky Oaks. In the LeCompte, as it so often is, the spotlight shines on Steve Asmussen. The Hall of Famer will saddle Chief Honcho, who is going to be the likely favorite in this spot. A win today would be Asmussen's 5th victory in the LeCompte, and that would equal the mark of trainer John Thial, who won the LeCompte in 1946, 51, 59, 1960, and 1961. And although Asmussen is going to have the horse that most people expect is going to go off as the favorite, it ain't going to be easy. You have Brad Cox, Cherie DeVoe, Whit Beckman, Brendan Walsh among the notable names standing in his way, looking to deny Asmussen that record-equaling victory. Brendan Walsh is going to be here at 8:35. He has the undefeated Stop the Car, making his stakes debut in the LeCompte this afternoon. He's been more like a runaway train to begin his career. Now a perfect 2 for 2. He has Carson Street, who rolled to an 11th length win over a sloppy track in an off-the-turf event in his most recent outing. And I think if you're looking at Carson Street, plenty of talent there, but I think you pump the brakes a little and you say, okay, let's wait and see what he does later today before we say, yeah, he's a legitimate Kentucky Derby contender. That's what they're all out to prove today anyway, aren't they? But Carson Street maybe more than his stablemate. He's run well in his previous 3 tries, and he's been asked to do a lot of different things. Started his career on September 4th of last year at Kentucky Downs, sprinting 7/8 of a mile, 7 furlongs on the turf. Of course, at Kentucky Downs, it's on the turf. He ends up finishing 3rd. Then he goes to Churchill, goes to the main track, 1 mile, sets the pace, finishes 2nd. Got beat by Incredible, who's a pretty good horse. Then he comes back on November 7th, his 3rd career start, mile and a 16th at Churchill on the main track, backs up and finishes 3rd. I shouldn't say backs up because he came from off the pace, made a big, bold move, looked like he was right there, and ends up getting past at the end, ends up finishing 3rd, beating a length and a half. So let's be fair to Carson Street there. And then this last effort, they tried to get him back on the turf at the Fairgrounds December 4th. Comes off the turf, races on a sloppy track, and annihilates a 6-horse field by 11 lengths. So what do we make of Carson Street? I think there are more questions there, certainly if you're talking about a horse that's going to be a quote-unquote Derby horse, than there are with his stablemate. Stop the Car. They haven't played around with the turf with him. He debuted in October at Keeneland last year, 6 furlongs, and he wins by a length and 3/4. Now, it wasn't a maiden claiming race, but a $150,000 maiden claiming race. So he wins his debut. Nicely done. They stretch him out to a mile next time out. Equally as impressive. Wins by a length or 3 3/4 lengths. If you're looking at these two today, from what they've accomplished so far, Stop the Car may be the one that strikes you as more on the Derby trail. But we're going to talk to Brendan about that. And by the way, I think I might have said Chief Honcho for Steve Asmussen. It's Chip Honcho, his horse that's likely to be the favorite in the LeCompte today. The winner of the Gunrunner Stakes last time out. Good win. He's now won 2 out of his 3 career starts. But I think if you're going to pull the trigger on him and say, yep, that's the horse I'm betting on. He's 9-2 on the morning line. Pretty good value. And if you say, all right, I know he's going to be among the favorites, but if I can get 3-1, 4-1, it's worth a shot. You got to like what you saw in the Gunrunner. And you got to be comfortable with the way that race finished. It was quick early. If you look at the Brisnet past performances, and this is one of the things I love about them, they give you an early pace number, a middle pace number, and then a late pace number. And I've talked about it on the show before. I'm a huge fan of late pace. I like horses that are running at the end, finishing. Well, the numbers for the Gunrunner Stakes and that victory by Chip Honcho last time out, a 99 early pace, 103 mid pace, and a 68 late pace, which shows you that the early middle parts of the race were pretty solid, and then everybody was just trying to get to the wire at the end. And if you watch the race, it kind of looks that way too. So are you willing to take a short price? And then Chip Honcho has to overcome the outside post. He's in post 11 today in that mile and a 16th LeCompte. So what do you do there? How much do you trust that effort in the Gunrunner and the horses, by the way, that were finishing behind him and the quality of that race? That's the question you're going to have to ask yourself if you're looking at Chip Honcho and you're thinking Steve Asmussen is going to equal the all-time wins mark in the LeCompte. But again, plenty of good horses standing in his way. I think it's hard to take a short price on Chip Honcho later today. Brendan Walsh is going to be pretty busy. Not only does he have those 2 horses racing in the LeCompte, he has Triumphant Spirit in the Marie Krantz Memorial, Cameo Performance in the Colonel E.R. Bradley. So when he's here at 8:35 Eastern Time, I'll get a chance to ask him about all of those horses. Mike Stidham, he doesn't have a horse entered in the LeCompte, but he has pretty good runner in the Silver Bullet Day. Again, that race offering 20 points to the winner for the Kentucky Oaks. Love Your Neighbor is his horse in there. And a horse that has shown promise, has shown ability, has been knocking on the door in many of her starts, has been right there. Maybe today's the day that she says, okay, I am a stakes winner. She was second last time out in the Untappable behind Hit Parade. That was on December 20th at the Fairgrounds. Very similar conditions with this race here today. She's only run one poor race in her 4-race career. And that came when she was 7th at Woodbine last October on a synthetic surface. So that didn't work. They put her back on the main track at the Fairgrounds December 4th. She's second in a 6-furlong sprint. Then she's second beaten ahead last time out in the Untappable. She's a contender for Mike Stidham in that race later today in the Silver Bullet Day. Axel Concepcion decides to stick around. He'll get the leg up. She's 4-1 on the morning line for Lyle Stables. Stidham's going to go head-to-head with Brendan Walsh and everybody else in the Marie Krantz Memorial. He has epic style in there. So when Mike Stidham's with me at 9:40 Eastern Time, later in the second hour of the program, we'll get a chance to talk about those horses. And if you like the nuts and bolts of handicapping, which so many of us do, Joe Kristufek will be here at 10 Eastern to kick off Hour 3 with the TwinSpires Triple Play, and he'll give you 3 races from the Fairgrounds. You can watch and wager on with TwinSpires later today. Joe's always got so much information. So stay tuned for that. That's our Fairgrounds portion of the program here this morning, but I wanted to get into a couple of other things too. And it was announced this past week that 64-year-old rider Vernon Bush is going to retire. And he went out on top this week, winning his final career mount at Tampa Bay Downs on Wednesday. Vernon Bush began riding in 1978 at River Downs in Ohio. He now retires with 3,288 career victories. Yeah, you heard me. 3,288 wins for Vernon Bush. You might not have realized he won that many races. Total purse earnings of just over $25 million. Best known, really, for his success in New England when he won 6 riding titles at Suffolk Downs in Boston, 4 at Rockingham Park in New Hampshire. The Rock. I love the Rock. Boy, do I miss that. But that's really where he made his name. And he never got to ride the big horse. It's a little like Perry Utes, isn't it? A guy that's won a bunch of races, but didn't get that breakthrough horse, didn't get the chance to be aboard a Derby winner, Grade 1 winners. It just wasn't in the cards, but he showed up every day. And you would have thought when he was injured last August that there's no way we are going to see Vernon Bush on the back of a horse again. If you recall, he fractured his back in 3 places and broke a rib last August when his mount flipped over in the post parade at Belterra. And there were a lot of people who said, okay, that's it. You're done. You're going to retire. There's no reason to put yourself back out there. He wanted to go out on top. He wanted to go out with a victory. And he did that. And he did it with an 18-1 shot on Wednesday at Tampa Bay Downs. Cannot wait to visit with Vernon Bush. He's going to join me in just a few minutes right after this first commercial break. And then you're going to hear from Jay Privman, the Eclipse Award winner, longtime writer for the Daily Racing Form. What a job Jay has done throughout his entire career. But now he's an Eclipse Award winner for the feature and commentary category on the media side of things for his essay titled Lukas Morphed from Caustic to Avuncular. I think he should get it just for using the word avuncular in the title. I know I make my living talking and trying to come up with words to describe things, but I promise you that's the first time I've used avuncular publicly. Jay's so good at what he does. You're going to hear from him at 9:20. He'll talk about his relationship with Lukas. He covered him for more than 4 decades. He'll talk about that story and why it just meant so much to him to put that together. And that's a story, by the way, that first appeared on the Daily Racing Form website. So well done to Jay and to DRF and to the entire team. Poll question for you today. We talked about the Lecomte. Who's going to win the Lecomte Stakes at the fairgrounds? Who will win the Lecomte? Give you Chip Honcho, the favorite, maybe the favorite, likely among the favorites at least. Crown the Buckeye, Thunderbuck, or somebody else. And if you pick somebody else, comment and let us know which horse other than those three is going to win the Lecomte later today. You can go to @HRRN on X. You can go to Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook to cast your vote. And if you don't do social media, you know what to do. Email the show, mike@horseracingradio.net. Time to check in with Lee Delapina. He has this week's Mojo Racing Impossible Trivia question. Lee?
Thank you, Mike. This week's Impossible Trivia question is brought to you by Mojo Racing Partners. Get your mojo working at mojoracingpartners.com. A horse foaled in 1850 named Lexington is recognized as one of the greatest broodmare sires of all time. As a racehorse, he won 6 out of his 7 career starts. Who was the only horse to ever defeat him? Now, there is a reason I asked this question, but no Googling. I'll give out the answer at the end of the show.
All right, there you have it. Right around 10:55 Eastern is when we will reveal the answer to this week's Mojo Racing Impossible Trivia question. Here's the full lineup for you. Vernon Bush coming up right after this first break. Brendan Walsh at 8:35. 9:20, Jay Privman joins me. 9:40-ish, right around 9:40. We'll talk with Mike Stidham. The TwinSpires Triple Play at 10 o'clock. 10:20, Kurt Becker, Stroll Through Racing History, presented by Keeneland. And at 10:30, I Ask, They Answer with Dale Romans, with Tim Wilkin. You won't want to miss any of this show coming your way. This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN, Horse Racing's voice.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Coolmore Stallion Corniche, a $1.5 million OBS April sale topper by Quality Road and a 2-time Grade 1 winner.
But it's Corniche. He's just too good. Corniche wins the Breeders' Cup Juvenile.
Voted champion 2-year-old male following his win in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, it's no surprise his 72 yearlings sold for an average of over $170,000, with a top price colt of $725,000 and a top price filly of $525,000. Corniche standing for only $15,000 at Coolmore's Ashford Stud.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
As they wind around to the top of the lane, here comes Protest, circling up on the outside. All the Luck, Party on Rufus down toward the fence. Dave Diddit's also right there. In behind, All the Luck switches out to the far outside for the drive. Senior Money in the lime cap. A final 1/8 of a mile left to go. It's Vernon Bush and Protest. Protest coming to the 16th pole, a 2.5 length advantage over All the Luck. And down the outside, Senior Money. It's Protest still there. Protest, another upset winner here, 18-1. Vernon Bush and Protest win it. Second ended up very close there between Senior Money.
That's the way it sounded Wednesday at Tampa Bay Downs when Protest crossed the finish line. You heard 18-1, the final odds under jockey Vernon Bush, and he now goes out a winner after announcing his retirement. And he goes out on top with that victory. Win number 3,288 for Vernon in what has been a career that spanned nearly 5 decades. And, boy, what a remarkable story it is. And the 64-year-old young Vernon Bush joins us here this morning on the Equine Forum. Vernon, congrats on a remarkable career, my friend.
Thank you very, very much.
Let me ask you about that win on Wednesday. How special was that?
Well, when I went out there, I was just going to ride my regular race, and it didn't hit me until I pulled up. When I sat down before I turned back to gallop back to the winner's circle, that there's no more for me to prove, and I mean, it was such a relief and an awesome feeling.
When did you make the decision that, okay, if I can win one more race, then I'm going to go out right off into the sunset, go out on top? When did you make that decision?
Well, I was going to officially retire last summer at the end of the Belterra Park meet, but unfortunately I had gotten hurt in August, and I had to put it off. And when I came back to galloping horses back here at Tampa, I just said to myself and a couple friends, my brother and my sister, that I just want to win one more race. I just want to go out, and I picked this horse. I had ridden him last spring here at Tampa, and I ran third on him, and he'd had a couple thirds at Gulfstream last summer, and I thought that he would be a good horse to ride. I knew him, and I just wanted to get that one more win.
Vernon, this is basically all you have known for the past 50 years. This has been your life. You've done this extremely well. What were the emotions like coming back to the winner's circle, knowing this was it?
It was like jubilation. I galloped back, and the outrider was congratulating me, and I looked over it and I says, I'm done. I'm retiring. I'm going out on top. And it was just an awesome feeling. And Bill March, the trainer, he was congratulating me, and I looked at him and I said, Bill, thank you. I'm retiring. And he yelled back at me, he goes, I knew you were going to do this. I knew it. Yes.
What do you do with yourself now?
Well, I'm galloping horses here in the morning here at Tampa, and I'm still enjoying what I do. I love being around the horses. Like you said, this is my whole life. My father was a rider, and I knew at the age of 3 I wanted to become a jockey, and I accomplished that. And now I want to go to other things, but as of right now, I'm just galloping horses.
Vernon, I'm going to ask you a question I ask a lot of riders on this program, and I always love the answer I get, and quite often they're a little bit different. But when you're injured last August at Belterra, you fracture your back in 3 places, you break a rib, and like you said, it would have been easy just to say, okay, I'm not coming back, I'm done. What made you want to get back in the saddle again?
The love for being back out there. It's like I said, at the age of 3, I knew I wanted to become a jockey, and I did. But just to get back out there and be around everyone, and I wanted to get that one more win. But honestly, just the love for the sport, and just like you said, it's all I know, and I just live for it.
If Vernon Bush is putting together a resume of career highlights, what are some of the moments in your career that are always going to stand out to you?
Winning 6 races in a day, I had accomplished that 2 times. Leading rider at Suffolk Downs 6 times, leading rider at Rockingham 4 times, leading rider in Ohio, and all the stake races I had won. But I've won races from Saratoga to Hialeah, and it's just and the good horses, like riding a horse, Let Burn, Wacoit. I was able to get on Formal Gold, and all the trainers that I've ridden for, W.W. Perry, Nick Zito, Asmussen. It's just, I've had a great career, but I can honestly say, I guarantee, I don't think anybody else has ever. These are one of my personal highlights. 2 times in my career, I had finished 3rd in a race, and I got put up to win.
Really?
Yeah, 2 times it happened. So I don't know how many riders have ever had that happen, but it happened to me twice.
Wow. You're taking me on a little trip down memory lane. I remember watching you ride at Rockingham Park and at Suffolk Downs. I grew up in western Massachusetts, a little town called Pittsfield. And after I graduated from college, I lived in Nashua, New Hampshire, and I would go to Rockingham quite often. I loved Rockingham and Suffolk Downs, too.
Yes, awesome places. Too bad racing ended there, and just had to go on with it. And I chose to go back home to Kentucky and ride, and come to Tampa in the wintertime. So, but yes, I miss New England. I go back up there every summer to visit my son, and my ex-wife Lynette, and I just miss New England.
What did your family think of your decision to retire at this point?
Well, my brother knew about it, and he was hoping that I would not win a race here in Tampa. He wanted me to come back to Belterra and win it for him. But it didn't happen. But they are totally ecstatic. My son is over the top happy for me. My daughter is as well. I have a lot of support, and all the people that have congratulated me. I'm overwhelmed with all the congratulations.
Talking with Vernon Bush, he is stepping away from riding after nearly 5 decades in the saddle. Just a wonderful career, more than 3,200 wins, almost 3,300, 3,288 career victories for Vernon. Vernon, I'm sure over the years you've accumulated some different horse racing memorabilia and some things that you're never going to let go of, and they have a lot of meaning to you. What are some of those things that you have? If I were to walk into your house, what am I going to see?
My father's win pictures. I have a pair of his boots still. I have a pair of boots of jockey Carl Gambardella's, New England jockey. I have goggles signed by numerous riders, Perry Utes being one. And just little trinkets here and there from my journey. It's like getting autographs, like the football players. They swap jerseys. I get autographs from different jockeys, and I have a nice collection of them.
That's so cool. Who are some of those riders, maybe even early on in your career, Vernon, that really took you under their wing and helped you and got you started with this career?
Well, the very first one was my father, of course.
Yep.
Then there was a jockey by the name of Vernon Sailor. We called him Bernie Sailor. I actually learned to gallop under his he and his brother, Jim Sailor. And then when I started riding, I had Perry Utes. I had Vince Clark. I had Clarence Deal, and then Mike Parada, who hooked me up with John Nehrude and Tartan Farm in New York. And then I went to New York, and then I had all those riders up there. I had Angel Cordero, George Velasquez, Jacinto, and they all helped me. And then I eventually made it to New England, where I really had they were friends of my father's, and they sat me down and explained things to me, like jockey Paul Bohinko, Carl Gambardella, Donald Meade, and I had the best of it. The riders that I came around with were what we called old school riders. They started in the 50s, and it was just I believe I had the best teachers in the world.
Well, you learned really well, too, my friend. You know,
thank you.
When you look at the history of riders in our game, only 160 jockeys have ridden more winners than you, Vernon. And that may sound like a big number to some people, but when you think about every jockey that has attempted to climb into the saddle, that is not a big number. You should be very proud of everything you've accomplished.
Thank you very, very much.
Yeah, congratulations on a wonderful career. I know you got to get back to working horses again, so enjoy the rest of the day. Be safe, my friend, and we will talk again soon, I'm sure. Congratulations.
All right, thank you again, and you guys have a great day.
You too. Vernon Bush. Yeah, what a guy. Huh? What a cool story, too. Just, again, 3,288 winners, and much like a guy like Perry Oots and people like, I don't know, Russell Bays isn't a good example, but he was always a big fish in a small pond. Well, Vernon was kind of that way too, but not quite to that level. I'm sure he would have loved to have, gotten a chance to win a Kentucky Derby, or maybe gotten a chance to win a Grade 1. And you heard him say he got aboard Waquoit and Formal Gold and some of these really top horses. That's a special thing. And it was wonderful to hear his story here this morning. I hope you enjoyed it. Coming up next, going to talk to Brendan Walsh. We're going to turn our attention to the comp stakes. He's got a couple in there. We'll tell you all about it next, right after this edition of Legends of the Turf and this short commercial break.
It was a hot, sticky day in mid-May at Pimlico, the suburban Baltimore thoroughbred plant, and a huge crowd was on hand to take in the 81st renewal of the Run for the Black-Eyed Susans, the Preakness. It was 1957, and then Vice President Richard Milhouse Nixon was but one of the vast throng in attendance. Mrs. Nixon, Pat, was to present the trophy, the Woodlawn Vase, to the winning connections. There was a field of 7 3-year-olds going postward to contest the event, run over a distance of 1 3/16 miles. It figured to be a battle between 3 main contestants: Iron Liege, who'd won that year's edition of the Derby a couple of weeks earlier in the Spangles of Calumet Farm; Bold Ruler, who'd gone postward in the Derby as the 6-5 favorite but had run poorly; and Federal Hill, a speed horse who figured to do well on Pimlico's fast track with the sharper turns and short run to the wire. Also in the field were Inswept, who had won the Spalding Low Jenkins and the Chesapeake, both at Laurel; Promised Land, who had won the Governor's Gold Cup at Bowie, and run second to Mr. Jive in the Gotham, but had finished third to both Bull Ruler and Gallant Man in the Wood Memorial at Jamaica. Na Hiss was also in the field, but appeared overmatched, although he had won 3 straight allowance races. And Inside Track, who had never faced stakes horses and had been claimed for $7,500 and $12,500. One of the critical factors in the race was the post positions, and the race may very well have been won right at the break from the gate, as it turned out. The inside threesome, Inswept, Na Hiss, and Promised Land were notoriously slow breakers. Iron Liege had the 4-hole, Bold Ruler was 5, Inside Track at post 6, and the pure speed in the race, Federal Hill, on the extreme outside. Bold Ruler was a noted fast breaker, and Federal Hill would have to cross over on the entire field to get to the front, if indeed he could. At post time, Iron Liege was 6-5, Bold Ruler 7-5, Federal Hill 7-1. Eddie Arcaro was aboard Bold Ruler, and when the latch was dropped, he shot Bold Ruler to the front, and as expected, Federal Hill was right there with him. Federal Hill had a half length on Bold Ruler as they went to the clubhouse turn, but Arcaro would not let Federal Hill by to gain a clear lead. That forced Federal Hill to lose precious ground and gave Arcaro and Bold Ruler the fence, so to speak, to save real estate. They ran together on around the turn and onto the backside. Midway down the backstretch, Federal Hill gave up the chase, and it was Iron Liege under Bill Hartack laying third, just off the early fractions, waiting to make one big move. As they went to the far turn, Hartack dropped his mount down a notch and began to move on Iron Liege, but Arcaro would have none of that and cranked Bold Ruler up a notch to continue to hold the length-and-a-half lead. Iron Liege tried again at the top of the straight, but Bold Ruler turned back that challenge as well. Arcaro went to the whip down Pimlico's short stretch and drove Bold Ruler to the wire, a 2-length winner. After the race, Arcaro said he had pretty much given Bold Ruler his head, as opposed to keeping him wrapped up as he had done in the early part of the Derby. Hartack offered no excuses for Iron Liege's effort, Sonny Jim Fitzsimmons, the trainer of Bold Ruler, had used a cunning little trick on Bold Ruler. He had put a piece of string on the bit of Bold Ruler to ease the pressure on his cheek. In actuality, the race had been decided right at the start, for all practical purposes, when Bold Ruler and Federal Hill rocketed from the gate in front of Iron Liege. It all happened on a hot, sticky Saturday afternoon in mid-May at Pimlico, in the 81st Preakness, when Bold Ruler gained sweet revenge for that year's Derby loss.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with the gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
It's time now to shine the spotlight on the Darley Taking the Reins Performer of the Week.
Out in the center of the course comes Gas Me Up. There's 1 furlong to go. Flyover yet to get by Schwarzmeyer. And now from the back here's Sumter and Gas Me Up. Both flying home and they're head and head coming for the wire. Sumter and Flavian Pratt. Gas Me Up on the outside and Mirko de Moro. Gas Me Up from last to first. A stylish win in the Joe Hernandez.
Gas Me Up, the son of Darley Stallion Hard Spun, with that victory in the Grade 2 Joe Hernandez Stakes, making him your Darley Taking the Reins Performer of the Week. Darley Stallion Hard Spun, the leading sire of stakes horses among active stallions under 60,000, and his 21 black-type horses in 2025 is more than any other stallion under 45,000. Learn more about Hard Spun and all the Darley Stallions by visiting DarleyAmerica.com.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
They straighten away after 3/4 in 1 minute 10.98 seconds. Crown the Buckeye, a furlong away from finishing them off with Gerald Flubberry. Crown the Buckeye as a 3-length leader as they come down toward the final 16th. From Chip Poncho, Liberty National finishing up well toward the inside. Quality Mischief also trying to join these at the finish. It's Crown the Buckeye. Crown the Buckeye near home. Chip Poncho on the outside getting up. Chip Poncho! Chip Poncho has won it in the final strides in the Gunrunner Stakes. Then close, Crown the Buckeye was joined at the finish by Liberty National and Quality Mischief too.
Welcome back to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, with you right up until 11 a.m. Eastern on this Saturday morning. Chip Honcho, John Dooley had the call of the Gunrunner, trained by Steve Asmussen, and if he can win today's Lecomte Stakes, it will give Steve a 5th victory in the race that would equal the mark of trainer John Thial, who accomplished the feat from 1946 to 1961, winning the Lecomte on 5 separate occasions. But standing in his way are guys like Brad Cox and Cherie DeVoe, Whit Beckman, and Brendan Walsh, who has a couple of very talented youngsters in there. Stop the Car and Carson Street, and he's with me now here on HRRN. Brendan, appreciate the visit, my friend.
No problem at all, Mike. Thanks for having me on.
Earlier, I was talking about this race, and I was talking about your 2 horses. And from the outside looking in, when I look at Carson Street and I look at Stop the Car, to me, Stop the Car has the look of a Derby horse, maybe a little bit more than Carson Street, only because he's tried the turf, he's won off the turf. Am I completely wrong on this? Is Carson Street maybe the better Derby prospect at this point?
I'm not sure. There's probably not much between them right now, Mike. They worked together a few times, and you couldn't really separate them. So I don't think there's an awful lot between them. Hopefully they'll both keep improving. They are horses, I think, that are improving and will continue to improve another couple of races. So hopefully one of them or both of them improve enough to be good enough to be on the Derby trail,
Yeah, that's the thing, Brendan. So many of these horses in this race and other races that we're going to see coming up in the next couple of weeks, they're just trying to prove they belong on the Kentucky Derby trail. There's still a long way to go. What do you like to see from your 3-year-olds in mid-January that let you know they're trending in the right direction?
Well, I think the main thing is that they look like they can go the 2 turns, and I think both horses today look like that. Obviously, Carson Street's gone 2 turns already, and did it. He seemed to relish it, and Stop the Car looks like he's crying out to go 2 turns. So that I think that's very important at this point in time, and like I said, they're horses that seem like they're improving, which is always good to see too. That there's still plenty more to come from them, hopefully.
Let's start with Carson Street. Tell me a little bit more about this son of Street Sense. He debuts at Kentucky Downs, 7 furlongs on that turf course there, finishes 3rd. He's had 3 more starts since, and he wins by 11 in an off-the-turfer last time out. Take me through his campaign and through his story.
Yeah, he's been a very steady horse the whole way through. I mean, he ran a very good race in his maiden at Churchill. He got beat by a very nice horse of Riley Mott's. And then we got down here, and that turf race was sitting there. We decided we'd put him in MTO as there was rain in the forecast. And I think it was important for him, Mike, to go out and win a race at that point, because he'd had a couple of tough races and didn't quite get it done. And I think it probably did his confidence great, because he's come back and he's been working great since.
Is that a matter of maturity, Brendan? We talk about that maturity and that jump from the end of the 2-year-old season to the beginning of the 3-year-old season. Is that just a matter of maturity when you say he's working well since?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, Stop the Car is the same. I mean, Stop the Car, before we ever ran him, he was never a great workhorse. We ran him in a high-end maiden claimer at Keeneland because we thought he was okay. But he's turned inside out since. I mean, after his race, he really improved, and he showed that in his second race at Churchill. So yeah, I think it is a sign of maturity with them. And like I said earlier, the two of them look like they're stepping forward all the time, and hopefully they continue to do so.
Yeah, we haven't seen Stop the Car since his second victory of his career. He's now 2 for 2. That was on November 29th at Churchill Downs. What have the past couple of months been like for him?
Great. He's really, we kind of put him away with the intention of coming here. Obviously, after winning the other then there's not a ton of spots unless you go into a stake with a horse like that then. So this was always the prime target for him after that. And he's done well since, and he's been working good now. His work seems to have improved a lot as he's gone along, which is always a good sign.
Brendan, as I was walking through this race and I opened the show here today, I talked about one of the favorites, if not the favorite, Chip Honcho from the barn of Steve Asmussen, and he wins the gun runner last time out. It wasn't, to me, a visually impressive win. Doesn't mean he's not going to come out and run a hole in the wind this afternoon in the Lecomte, but I think if you're looking at that gun runner stakes, I think you got to pump the brakes a little and look at it maybe as not a stellar type of race. What did you make of the gun runner?
Look, Mike, it's like, that race today is just your typical Coles trial at this time of year. There's a bunch of unexposed horses, and you'll see something this evening, and something will take a big step forward. I mean, you could make a case for 5 or 6 horses today, and I mean, look, that horse, he's got a license to improve again, because the last day he went 2 turns and he did it well. So you can't really count any horse like that out. I mean, he won a nice race going 2 turns, and that's all you want to see this time of year. And if he improves again, which Steve's generally do, then you're probably going to he's going to be very competitive. I mean, you could make a case for 5 or 6 horses in the race, because they're still horses that have got it all to prove. And, hopefully it'll be one of ours that'll jump up there,
Brendan, outside of these 2, what other 3-year-olds should we have an eye on in that Brendan Walsh barn?
I have a nice colt running today in the 2-turn maiden, Liberty Valance. He's been a little unlucky up to now. He was drawn very wide the last day. the two-turn maiden down here, and you know, he got caught wide on both turns and kind of made a big middle move just because he had to, and you know, and made a nice run at them, but you know, just got tired. The last furlong, he could make a big step forward today. He's a horse that's on the up, I think. And then, you know, we've got a few fillies. Probably, look, the one filly is probably Bella Ballerina, who won the Golden Rod. She should be back. The plan there is to come back with her in the Rachel Alexander in 4 weeks' time.
I love to see it. I love when those horses that have already shown that type of top-class ability get rolling again in the new season. You've got a couple of other horses in the stakes races today, too. Triumphant Spirit in the Marie Krantz Memorial, Cameo Performance in the Colonel E.R. Bradley. Tell me about those two.
Well, Triumphant Spirit, she broke her maiden at Keeneland in October, and then she came down here and she won a nay other than, and won it well, and looked like you know, she liked the track here, so we said we'd give her a shot today and see if we can get some black type with her. And then Cameo Performance is a solid horse. You know, he runs his race every time, and he's always competitive in these type of races. He ran his best race last year. He ran it here in the Muniz, and he seems to like it here, so we shipped him down here for this. And I think if he runs his best race today, he can be very competitive.
Brendan, you mentioned Bella Ballerina. How about a couple of the other top horses you had last year? Are we going to see them back in action again this year?
Yeah, no, they're all, you know, we've a bunch of them down in, a bunch of the grass horses are down in Palm Meadows, and we're getting them kind of ready for the spring. Lush Lips is down there. She's doing well. East Avenue's down there. Gosger, you know, and to name a few, there's a couple of other nice horses there too. So we look forward to getting all them back.
Yeah, that should be one heck of a year. Kind of renew those rivalries with a horse like Sovereignty now that he's back in training too. This older horse division this year could be highly competitive.
Yes, very solid. You know, we've them two horses now, Mike. They should both be very competitive this year. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Brendan, let's keep it rolling, buddy. It's great to catch up again. First time we've talked here in 2026. I'm sure we'll talk down the road. Good luck in the Lecomte and all those other stakes races today, and let's go get it done.
Thanks very much, Mike.
All right, Brendan Walsh. I say it all the time. One of the classiest guys in the sport of thoroughbred racing, and one heck of a horse trainer too. And he's now, you know, got these big horses out there like Bella Ballerina, like East Avenue, like Gosger, Lush Lips, who you heard him talk about, winner of the QE2 last year at Keeneland. He has these big name horses, and now he's adding every single year new horses into the fold that he feels are promising. And I'm always a big fan. When you talk to trainers, I've said this for many, many years, and it goes back to when my good friend Jude Feld and I were hosting the program together. When you ask a trainer about a horse and they perk up a little bit when you and I didn't ask him specifically about the maiden special weight race later today, but you kind of got a sense when he started talking about that race that he really likes that horse, right? And I think as much as he likes his horses in the Lecomte, you maybe keep an eye on that maiden special weight race earlier in the program as well and see what happens there and see if Brendan ends up getting another horse on the Derby Trail. Really exciting times. I mean, we're sitting here January 17th. The Derby's still a long way away, but it's also not. It'll be here before we know it. And these prep races, every single week now we're going to have a Derby prep of some fashion, whether it's here in the States or overseas or whatever the case might be. And it's going to start to get more and more exciting. The stakes will continue to get higher. Dale Romans always says, you know, the ones that really matter are those ones later in the season. But you got to go through these first to get your horse ready for a peak effort in the 50-point races, the 100-point races, which are, let's face it, win and you're in races, right? But you got to start now, and you get, like Brendan was very candid about that when he said, yeah, we're just trying to see if he belongs on the Derby Trail. Can he get on the Derby trail? That's what today's all about. That's what the Lecomte Stakes is all about. Can these horses prove that they deserve to be on the Derby trail? You run a clunker, you give them another shot, but you don't like to ever have a straw in your path. You don't like to have a horse throwing a clunker at any point, even if it's sitting here on January 17th. You want to see a strong effort from these horses and see improvement. And that's what Brendan and all the trainers in the Lecomte are going to be looking for later this afternoon. That's, by the way, that's the final race on the program, race number 13. And it goes at 7 o'clock Eastern time, which means 6 o'clock Central, 4 o'clock out west. So keep an eye on that Lecomte later today. And, exciting to see what could be for these promising 3-year-olds. Speaking of 3-year-olds, when I come back after this short commercial break, it's time for this week's edition of Calling All 3-Year-Olds, presented by Spendthrift. Bobby Newman has the honors for that segment as he ranks his top 5. And then I'll tell you what's coming up in hour number 2. Plenty more conversation about the Lecomte and about this stellar card at the fairgrounds this afternoon. That's all ahead on the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network.
Woodford Feed, where tradition merges with technology. Family owned since 1940 and providing exceptional customer service, Woodford Feed specializes in the highest quality feed, using only the finest ingredients to ensure optimal nutrition for your horses. In addition, Woodford Feed can help with all your farm needs, including field seed, fertilizer, and weed control. So whether your horse is sprinting around the racetrack or has a foal by her side, count on Woodford Feed to provide the quality nutrition necessary to perform at the highest level. Woodford Feed, Versailles, Kentucky.
Did you know? VA home loans are a key to home ownership for those who served.
I would tell anybody who is interested in getting a VA loan to just do it.
For me, the best thing about the VA loan was the simplicity of it. I was expecting, government paperwork, it was going to go on forever, and it just wasn't.
Since the down payment for a VA loan is minimal, we were able to purchase this home and then use the money that we were going to use as a down to actually fix up the home.
And the only way we could do that was because the nest egg that we had saved for the down payment, we didn't have to use because we went the VA route.
This is a wonderful benefit that veterans can take advantage of.
In the military, we make a lot of sacrifices. We're away from our family a lot. And with the VA loan, it's a way that it makes it easier for us to get a home.
To learn more about VA home loans, visit va.gov/home loans.
Dear VetTix, it was nice to spend the night with my daughter and other veterans. It's so humbling to attend an event when you feel appreciated.
I had a wonderful time with my family. Thank you for the memories, VetTix.
Dear VetTix, thank you for a great experience and for your support of the military and veterans.
Thank you so much, VetTix. Our family has gone through a lot the last few years, and this gave us a nice break.
Every empty seat at a concert, game, or special event is a missed opportunity to say thank you to a veteran or a service member. By giving your extra tickets to VetTix, you'll help America's heroes reduce stress, strengthen family bonds, and create a truly happy memory that will last a lifetime. So when you really want to say thank you for your service, give the experience, give the memory. VetTix. Give something to those who gave. For more information on how you can make a difference, go to vettix.org.
Thursday evenings, 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern, is the Brisnet.com call-in show. It's your chance to call in and let the Horse Racing Radio Nation know what's on your mind. Call us at 888-966-HRRN. That's 888-966-4776. And discuss the topics you choose in the world of thoroughbred racing. The Brisnet.com call-in show. Sirius 162, XM 207, and streaming live at horseracingradio.net.
They're all in line. And they're off.
Spendthrift Farm presents Calling All 3-Year-Olds with Bobby Newman.
A little bit of a lull on the road to the Kentucky Derby last weekend, but there was at least one intriguing race for the 3-year-olds. At Santa Anita, the Grade 2 San Vicente Stakes hosted a short but talented field of 5 over the demanding distance of 7 furlongs. Bob Baffert sent out 2 of the 5 runners, including heavily favored Butane. But it was Mark Glatz So Happy who closed from a few lengths off the pace to eventually win by 2 lengths, covering the 7 furlongs in 121 flat and remaining undefeated at 2 for 2. Unfortunately, the San Vicente is not a Kentucky Derby points qualifier, so we'll see if they try stretching him out in hopes of earning points next time out. We get back on the Derby trail this week with the Grade 3 LeCompte at Fairgrounds. 11 talented 3-year-olds will compete at 1 1/16 with $250,000 up for grabs. Chip Honcho and Crown the Buckeye are the lone stakes winners in the field, but they'll meet some impressive recent maiden breakers in Golden Tempo, Thunder Buck, Mesquite, White Tiger, and Stop the Car. A win today gets you 20 Derby points. Going into today, the top 10 points qualifiers are Ted Noffey with 40, followed by Litmus Test, Mr. AP, Intrepido, Universe, Spice Runner, and 8 others tied for 7th place. Last year, a minimum of 50 points was necessary to make the Derby field, so everyone likely still has work to do. I'll be back with this week's top 5 list right after this word from Spendthrift.
In racing, bloodlines are kingdoms, and every kingdom needs an heir. Sired by Uncle Mo, Kingsbarns was chosen for greatness. An $800,000 2-year-old built like an empire. He defeated champion Arcangelo on debut, dominated the Louisiana Derby in his 3rd start, and achieved a defining victory in the Grade 1 Stephen Foster. Kingsbarns, where the line of kings continues.
Standing at Spendthrift Farm, Kingsbarns' first foals are arriving now.
This week's top 5 list of Derby contenders looks like this. Number 5, Commandment. Rousing winner of the Mucho Macho Man has talent, but needs to start earning points. Number 4, Further Ado, followed up a monstrous maiden win with a nice score in the Kentucky Jockey Club. Number 3, Mr. AP, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile runner-up, is away from training briefly while he deals with a small issue, but there's no denying his potential. Number 2 is Ted Noffey, Breeders' Cup Juvenile winner and likely champion 2-year-old of 2025, is the obvious winner book favorite. Look for him to make his next start at Gulfstream Park in either the Holy Bull on January 21st or the Fountain of Youth on February 28th. And number 1 is Paladin. He looked great in winning the Remsen in just his 2nd career start. He's pointing for the Risen Star at Fairgrounds on February 14th next. That's your Calling All 3-Year-Olds segment presented by Spendthrift, the Breeders' Farm.
Now, it's such a cool segment there. My thanks to Spendthrift and Bobby for putting all of that together each and every week for you and ranking those top 5. Interesting that Bobby has Paladin sitting on top. So many storylines will emerge in the coming weeks, and so many horses will that maybe we're not even looking at right now as being Derby horses. All of a sudden, they run a couple of big races. Maybe they just broke their maiden within the last week or two, and they show up in a stakes race, and they prove, I belong. That's what makes this time of year so fun, and that's what makes the road to the Kentucky Derby so much fun. And there are so many twists and turns, and horses will ascend to the top of the list, and others will descend down the list as we make our way through. It's just such a fun time of year, and I love it. And again, thanks to Spendthrift for all their support of Calling All 3-Year-Olds right here on the Equine Forum each and every week. All right, coming up next, hour number 2 features Jay Privman. Tell you more about that in just a minute, the Eclipse Award winning rider, and trainer Mike Stidham. Again, Mike does not have a horse running in the LeCompte today, but he has a pretty good one, a major contender in the Silver Bulletin, which is a race that offers 20 points to the winner for the Kentucky Oaks, a spot in the starting gate of the Kentucky Oaks. So we'll talk to Mike coming up at 9:40. 10 o'clock Eastern, the TwinSpires Triple Play with Joe Kristufek. I'll tell you more about his 3 races that he will focus on for you. They all come from the fairgrounds. Kurt Becker, Stroll Through Racing History at 10:20, and at 10:30, Dale and Tim with I Ask, They Answer. And there are a variety of different topics, as there always are, that we're going to focus on in there. Many of those topics on I Ask, They Answer submitted by you, our listeners. And each and every week we receive so many topics and questions for Dale and Tim that come from all of you all over the country. And I encourage you to keep those coming. Those guys, Dale and Tim, they love answering your questions And so often they're different, and they're the questions that so many of us want to ask, but we just don't for whatever reason, or don't think to ask. So keep them coming. You can email the show, mike@horseracingradio.net, to submit your questions for Dale and Tim. And if you want to post them on our social media pages, you can do that too, at HRRN on X, Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook, another way to get in touch with the show, follow along. Want to remind you before I get to hour 2 that if you're going to be in Lexington for whatever reason, Central Kentucky we just had the Keeneland January sale. Maybe you got a chance to take in some Tonys of Lexington when you were there. Or if you're going to be coming back for another sale, for breeding season, for a UK game, whatever the case might be. If your travels take you to Central Kentucky, do not miss your opportunity to visit Tony's of Lexington and enjoy an incredible meal. The best steak you will find anywhere is at Tony's of Lexington. I promise you that. They're on Main Street right behind Rupp Arena. The people, they make the difference, and the food is exceptional. It's a sure bet winner. Tony's of Lexington. Call now. Get your reservations. They will fill up quickly. They're always busy. But as Tony likes to say, Tony Ricci, the owner, there's always room for one more at our table. So call him today, get your reservations, and enjoy Tony's of Lexington. Tell him the Baron told you to come in and that you're going to enjoy it, and I promise you will. All right, hour 2 comes your way next after this 10-second pause for station identification. This is the Horse Racing Radio Network, where racing comes to talk.
This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
1 hour down, 2 to go here on the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, happy to have you with me here on the program and looking forward to the next 2 hours of the show. Jay Privman set to come up right around 9:20 Eastern, maybe a couple of minutes before. We'll get to Jay and hear from the Eclipse Award winner, Mike Stidham, also coming your way in the second hour of the program, 9:40 Eastern time. I gave you a poll question this morning. Haven't had a chance to update it. It's been a busy first hour of the show, visiting with Vernon Bush. What a fun conversation that was. And it's always fun to catch up with Brendan Walsh. If you missed either of those two conversations, you can head back to our website, horseracingradio.net, to listen to the podcast after we finish up at 11 a.m. Eastern. And you can do that, too, on your favorite podcast platform. However you listen to your podcast, type in Horse Racing Radio Network. Listen to this program and all the shows we bring your way each and every week, including yesterday's Trainer Talk show, which was a tribute to the late Leo O'Brien, a replay of my 1-hour conversation with Leo from 2015, which is still relevant today. So many great stories there. Such a feel-good hour. Treat yourself to that podcast by visiting our website or your favorite podcast platform. Poll question today. It focuses on the Lecomte Stakes at the Fairgrounds, the lone Derby points race on the schedule this afternoon. Who will win the Lecomte? Is it Chip Honcho, the horse who's 9-2 on the morning line, maybe going to be the favorite for Steve Asmussen? Is it Crown the Buckeye? Is it Thunder Buck? Or somebody else? And if you choose somebody else, we're asking you to comment and let me know which horse other than the top 3 you think is going to win. So far, 56% of you are saying it's somebody else, but no comments, so I don't know who the heck it is. Let me know. Comment on the post if you choose somebody else so that I can pass along your pick, and let's see who all the Sharpies are out there in HRRN Nation. Again, you can go to @HRRN on X, Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook, to weigh in on who you think is going to win the Lecomte. And as Brendan Walsh said in the first hour of the program, you could make a case for 5 or 6 horses in there. And I think you can, maybe more. To me, the Lecomte is such a wide-open race, such a well-balanced race. Everybody, I know Chip Honcho was a stakes winner winning the Gun Runner. He did it over that racetrack. I wasn't overly impressed with that race. I wasn't overly impressed with the way it was done. I told you earlier, I'm a huge fan of Brisnet past performances and the early pace, late pace numbers, middle pace numbers. That race was solid early solid in the middle part, but they kind of staggered home. It wasn't like they were finishing, at least by the numbers. And I think visually, too, when you watched it, you didn't get the sense of, okay, this horse is, boy, he's going to be a beast. All these horses coming out of this race. It just didn't give you that feeling. Not me, anyway. So I think if you're going to bet on Chip Honcho, get a price today. Look for a price. And maybe he's 9-2 on the morning line. Maybe 3-1, 4-1 is fair value. But I think you have to get that. I think you have to get at least 3-1 if you're going to take a shot with him. Plus, he has to overcome the outside post. But Brendan told you, his horses are right there with all the other horses, and everybody's in the same boat at this time of the season. If you missed it in the first hour at the open to the show, your Mojo Racing Impossible Trivia question for this morning, I'm going to give it to you again right now. The answer going to be revealed in the final segment of the show right around 10:55 Eastern. A horse foaled in 1850 named Lexington is recognized as one of the greatest broodmare sires of all time. As a racehorse, he won 6 out of his 7 career starts. Who was the only horse ever to defeat him? The only horse ever to defeat Lexington in that career. Get your mojo working. Think about that one for a minute. The answer, again, coming up at the end of today's show. I mentioned that Joe Kristufek will be here at 10 Eastern for the TwinSpires Triple Play. And all 3 of his races today come from the fairgrounds. And Joe always has some incredible information. And when you go to TwinSpires, there is no TwinSpires Triple Play specific wager. You're not going to see a page or a button that takes you to a TwinSpires Triple Play. But the purpose of that segment every week is to give you some insight into horses in those races that will allow you to make an educated decision. And then you can take that information, use it, don't use it, bet the race any way you like. Just we encourage you to keep doing that at TwinSpires. And so many of you have, and we really appreciate that. But Joe's 3 races he'll focus on at 10 Eastern. The Duncan F. Kenner, which is those races for me, it's a 5.5 furlong turf sprint. Those races are always so challenging. They're always a head scratcher. And I've said for a long time, and I'll probably bring this up to Joe, that horses that win those turf sprints are not the horses you think are going to win those turf sprints necessarily. And what I mean by that is you think 5.5 furlongs. You want to have the fastest horse in the race and that early speed, catch me if you can, break out of the gate fast and just keep going. It doesn't often work like that in those 5.5 furlong turf sprints because there is typically so much speed in those races. I like to look for a horse that comes from just off the pace or a horse that maybe even comes from further back because it typically will set up for horses like that with a hot early pace. So I'll probably bring that up to Joe Kristufek when he talks about that race, but it'll be interesting to hear his thoughts. He's also going to focus on race number 12 today, the Louisiana Stakes, which is for the older horses at 1 1/16 on the main track. And then he'll finish it up with his thoughts on the LeCompte. Again, 1 1/16 on the main track today. That's the final of 13 races on that program at the fairgrounds. So all of that's still coming your way. I'm really excited about Jay Privman coming up in just a few minutes. He'll be here 6 or 7 minutes from right now. And I'm excited because his Eclipse Award winning piece focuses on the coach, Dwayne Lucas. And who better to put this piece together? Obviously nobody, because he won an Eclipse Award for it. But the essay, which appeared on the Daily Racing Form website initially, is titled Lukas Morphed From Caustic to Avuncular. If you don't know what that means, Google it. Again, I think Jay, and I'll tell him that, I think he should win just for putting the word avuncular in the title. But Jay covered and was around Dwayne Lucas for more than 4 decades. So he saw Wayne and his personality when he first got into the sport, coming from quarter horses, and he watched it develop and change over the course of his career as he became one of the greatest thoroughbred trainers of all time. And I'm sure Jay's going to have some fantastic stories for us. He always does. But I'm curious where Jay came up with the idea to take this angle with this story. It turned out beautifully, obviously. But we'll get a chance to talk to him about that award-winning feature here in just a few minutes. And again, when Dale and Tim join me at 10:30 Eastern, we're going to dive into a lot of things. So often at this point, and this is why I'm so excited to talk to Mike Stidham later in this hour as well, we spend so much time focusing on the Derby picture. I think the ladies get a raw deal sometimes. The Kentucky Oaks horses don't often get the publicity that they deserve. We don't spend as much time here on this show talking about the Kentucky Oaks. I try to. Going to do it today. Going to bring it up with Dale and Tim, too. I think it's important that we don't overlook the 3-year-old fillies making their way to the Kentucky Oaks. And along those lines, one of the topics I'm bringing up with Dale and Tim at 10:30 involves Explora, who looked great winning the Santa Ynez last weekend. Ultra impressive. Is she now the horse to beat in the race for the Kentucky Oaks? She's at the top of the list from a points perspective. She has 35 points now after that victory. Super Corridora, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies winner, is sitting in second with 30. We haven't seen her as a 3-year-old yet. And I think a lot of people thought, okay, well, that was just kind of a one-off. Is she really that good? Well, yeah, I think she is pretty legit. And if you recall, I talked to her owner, Terry Finley of West Point Thoroughbreds, after that win in the Breeders' Cup, and I asked him that question. I said, do you see her as a legitimate Kentucky Oaks contender right now after that victory? And, of course, he said yes. But it was the way that she did it. An unusual move for John Sadler to take a horse that breaks their maiden and then jump right into a grade 1 like the Breeders' Cup. She proves she belongs with that effort. Now, will she continue to improve and develop? We know Explora has done that. At least she did in the Santa Ynez. She looks like she's going to be a handful. But Super Corridora, when she returns, can say, okay, hold on a second. I'm still here. I'm the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies winner. And you're going to have to contend with me. The road to the Kentucky Oaks goes through me. She'll still have that opportunity. And then behind her are horses like Dazzling Dame and, at least on the points list, Percy's Bar, Tommy Joe, rounding out the top 5 right now. All of this will change, of course. But that's going to be an interesting conversation. Again, focusing on the Kentucky Oaks picture for a little bit on that show this morning. We won't neglect the Derby either. I'll ask Dale and Tim some thoughts on the Kentucky Derby. As a matter of fact, Rick in Sacramento sent a question in for the guys on that program today. Last weekend, Dale said he felt like Commandment, winner of the Mucho Macho Man, looked like a Derby horse. We hear that all the time. And Rick wants to know, what specifically is that look? It's easy to say it. Oh, that horse looks like a Derby horse. Looked like a Derby horse in that race. Looked like a Derby horse in the paddock. What exactly does that mean when a trainer says that, when an owner says that? I'll ask Dale and Tim that question. Dale obviously made that statement last week, and a perfect guy to talk about what a Kentucky Derby horse looks like. He's been there with a Derby horse, trying to get back there again with a Derby horse this year. And Timmy, yes, he's not a trainer, but Timmy's watched an awful lot of races over the years. And he'll be able to weigh in on what in the races, not just in the paddock, not just in the post parade, not just physically, in these prep races. What does a Derby horse look like? What do you want to see from them during the race that makes you stop and say, that horse looks like a Derby horse? Easy to say those words. What the heck do they mean? We'll take you inside those words and that particular sentence during I Ask the Answer at 10:30 Eastern. Just part of what's ahead here on the Equine Forum this morning. As I mentioned, Jay Privman coming up here in just a few moments. We're going to connect with him. Mike Stidham set to come your way 9:40 Eastern. This is the Equine Forum presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The National HBPA is continuously working to protect the health and welfare of horses by advocating and funding research to help reduce equine injuries, lobbying for a national testing lab to oversee and establish absolute uniform laboratory protocols, advocating for every track to undergo an annual independent surface assessment, passionately supporting off-the-track thoroughbred retirement facilities and adoption groups, and so much more. See additional HBPA initiatives at nationalhbpa.com.
This coming holiday weekend will be a tremendous one filled with racing and fun for the whole family at Santa Anita. On Saturday and Sunday, along with world-class racing, we will present our famous Burgers and Brews events, where you can enjoy delicious burgers from LA's best burger vendors and cold craft brews from LA's top breweries. It will be a weekend packed to the brim with burgers, brews, and the best thoroughbreds in the country. Then we will have special holiday racing on Monday, January 19th with $2 beers, hot dogs, and sodas. And we're going to help make your day more profitable with a selection for Monday's card. It's number 2 in race 7, Mrs. Astor. She is pure class and has become a win machine. Bet her with confidence. Bet with confidence at Santa Anita Park with the best wagering menu in the country that includes 2 pick 4s, 2 pick 5s, a $3 late pick 3, the ever popular coast to coast pick 5, and the $5 late daily double, all with a low 15% takeout, plus the traditional $2 pick 6. It's all here at the great race place, Santa Anita Park.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
And there's a quarter of a mile to go. It looks like a 2-horse race from here. Codex racing far away from the rail, half the lead. 3 parts of the length. Genuine Rich on the outside. Second, Colonel Moran. Third, Jacqueline Putnam. And Codex with Anil Cordero Jr. Half the lead by 2.5. Genuine Rich can't catch him. It's Codex. On by the Texas Fire. Trained by G-Way Lucas. Anil Cordero aboard. Codex wins the Preakness Stakes.
Welcome back to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Dave Johnson with the call of Codex winning the Preakness in 1980, the first of so many classic victories for the coach, Wayne Lukas. You know, it was interesting. I remember sitting down with Wayne in his barn at Saratoga. Myself and Jude Feld, we spent an hour with Wayne talking about his career and his life in racing. And that podcast is out there on our website and on your podcast platforms. You can go back and listen to that Trainer Talk program. But one of the things I remember involves that race. Wayne talked about winning that race in 1980, and he said, oh, well, heck, this is easy. We're going to win a lot of these things. This isn't so hard. He had just come into the sport from quarter horse racing. And then he found out how difficult it could be. He had to wait 5 more years before he would win another classic, and that came with Tank's Prospect in 1985, also in the Preakness Stakes. Jay Privman spent more than 4 decades around the coach, knew him as well as anybody, and now he is an Eclipse Award winner for a story which Jay put together. It was an essay which appeared first on the Daily Racing Forum website titled Lukas Morphed from Caustic to Avuncular. And Jay is with me now to talk about that piece. Jay, appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you, Mike. Good morning.
I said earlier you should win just for putting the word avuncular in the title.
I wish I could take credit for that, but actually it appears nowhere in the story. That was the headline writer, who I found out later was Irwin Cohen, the managing editor, who wrote the headline. So tip of the cap to Irwin for increasing everybody's vocabulary.
Yeah, the first time I've ever said that word publicly was when I opened the show today and mentioned you were going to appear for this particular essay.
Yeah, no, it was. I was very grateful for Irwin and Jody Swaby, the editor. They gave it the space that it deserved. Obviously, Wayne Lukas deserved a proper tribute, and while there were the proper and usual types of obituaries written on him, but as you mentioned, I had covered him for a long time. It was funny that you played that Codex clip from the Preakness. The first race that I ever covered was when Codex won the Santa Anita Derby, which was 2 starts prior to the Preakness for him. I was 20 years old. I was going to college at Cal State Northridge in Southern California, and I was working part-time at the LA Daily News, and they didn't have anybody else to go out and cover the Santa Anita Derby. So they sent this part-time 20-year-old kid out there to cover the race, and Lukas won it with Codex, and that was the first time I was ever around him, and then for 4+ decades subsequent to that in covering him. And so what I wanted to do was sort of put together an overview of his career, because he really, as you no doubt know from the times that you interacted with him, and as I'm sure as you found in that time when you and Jude spent time with him at Saratoga, he really became kind of a different person over the years. And I don't think a lot of people knew what he was like when he first came around, and I kind of wanted to encapsulate that story arc in the piece that I did, and fortunately the Racing Forum gave me the space to do that.
That's what I found fascinating about this angle that you decided to take, Jay. I didn't start on radio until 2003. So by the time I was starting to get to know Wayne Lukas, he was well into this fantastic career. The early days of Wayne Lukas, when he made that move from quarter horse racing to thoroughbred racing, how would you describe his overall persona at that point?
I mean, he was very confident in his abilities, but he was off-putting to a lot of people in the sport. As you no doubt know, newcomers to the sport are not often embraced. And here was a guy who came from the quarter horse world and was very flashy in terms of the way he dressed. His barns were immaculate. He had white bridles on his horses. That was new. I mean, we see him on so many the horses of so many trainers now, but Wayne brought that over from the quarter horse world because the white stood out at night when he was racing at Los Alamitos, and it was easier to see his horses that way. So he did things like that at the time were considered very flashy, and it was off-putting to a lot of people. And he was winning, so there was quite a bit of jealousy. And I think, he resented the jealousy that he was getting. He thought he deserved to be treated better than he was, and he was very confident in his abilities. And so there was that whole dynamic at work, and the interplay of that lasted for well over a decade. But over time, I think people came to realize what Wayne was contributing to the sport overall, and I think Wayne just through age and the acceptance that he was getting started to mellow, and that was kind of the way I think things evolved for him over those 40-plus years, exclusively in the thoroughbred world.
What was it like to cover him in those early days?
Challenging. He could be very intimidating. He was always he was always open in terms of being accessible. I mean, he never blew you off. But if he didn't like something you wrote, you would know about it. And there were times you would have to write something that he didn't like. And one story I'll tell, and I didn't put this in the piece because it was more of a personal thing, but I'll share it with you guys. He froze me out for 2.5 years at one point. It was in the mid to late 90s. He was on a really bad roll in terms of the Derby contenders in 1997, and he ended up running a horse named Deeds Not Words, who was just completely overmatched, really had no business being in the race, but he did it to keep a streak alive of having run in consecutive Derbies. And I wrote an opinion piece on how I just thought it was poor form to put his own needs ahead of that of the horse. And 2.5 years later, he spoke to me again.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sure that went over well.
But we got along. I mean, overall, we got along fine. And over the last 20 plus years, I think there was a mutual respect there. And I think there were a number of reporters who had similar, I think, interactions with him, especially early on. He was, as the headline says, he was caustic. I mean, he could be tough on people.
Jay, you mentioned him mellowing as he began to age and as people began to accept him and he started to feel that acceptance. Was there a specific moment that you could point to and say, this is really one thing that started to turn things for Wayne Lukas and for the way people perceived Wayne Lukas?
Mike, when I went back and was doing this piece, I thought of that exact same thing, and I really couldn't come up with something. I had a hypothesis. Well, maybe it was after his son Jeff was trampled by Tabasco Cat. Maybe that might have mellowed him. But I look back at some of the things that he said and did in the couple years subsequent to that, and it really didn't track. So I can't say that there was that. It seemed like it was more of a gradual evolvement than it was some sort of overnight revelation. So there wasn't really a one moment per se. I think it just, over time, I think between the sport embracing him more and more over the years to the point where everybody called him coach for the last 20 years, that nobody called him coach when he first came around. That was a nickname that was sort of born through TVG and now FanDuel was where that kind of started and morphed from. But the mellowness, I think, came from more acceptance in the sport. And I think from his standpoint, and this is just my nickel evaluation from a psychiatric standpoint, take it for what it's worth, but I think he came to realize that his place in the sport was concrete, ironclad, rock solid, and I think that gave him a lot of contentment.
What is his legacy in the sport, Jay?
God, it's so wide. When you think, I think first and foremost, Mike, you think of the coaching tree, right? That all the top people that have come up under him and have gone out on their own, most notably Todd Pletcher, Karen McLaughlin, people of that nature, Mark Hennig. I mean, it could go on and on and on. And then you've got Dallas Stewart, and then you've got people who worked for Pletcher and Stewart, specifically like Michael McCarthy and Brad Cox, who have gone on in their own right. So they're sort of, for lack of a better word here, they're like the grandsons of that coaching tree, right? Not the original sons like Todd and Karen and the rest. So I think that's the biggest impact that his legacy will be, but also his impact on the Triple Crown and the number of races that he won and making those races as important as they are. It seems sort of obvious now. We go like, oh yeah, of course the Triple Crown is the most important thing in racing. But if you look at the field sizes of the Kentucky Derby on an annual basis before Lukas came around and after Lukas came around, you will see that his focus on the Triple Crown and the Kentucky Derby changed the sport in terms of the way people focus more and more on the Derby, whereas to now every year it's an overflow field. There's often an AE list, and you're hoping, like the Rich Strike people did, that you get in at the 11th hour, ironically in that case because of a Wayne Lukas scratch. So I think those are the most significant impacts that he's had on the sport, and also in the sales ring. because he had top clients, he spent top dollar, and I think the look of what, he obviously had incredible success in the sales ring. And if you look at what's happened in yearling and 2-year-old training sales, but particularly yearling sales, I think his impact is profound in terms of the types of horses that people look for and the amount of money that people will pay for them.
Talking with Eclipse Award winner Jay Privman, longtime writer for the Daily Racing Forum, and his piece on Wayne Lukas winning an Eclipse Award for him this year. Jay, did I read this correctly? Was this your first Eclipse Award in this particular category?
It was.
I'm shocked.
Mentions, but
I'm shocked.
It's funny. I mean, there were several things over the years that I submitted that I thought had a chance, and they didn't get a smell. And there were some things I sent in that I thought were okay, that would get honorable mentions. And you just never know. It's a crapshoot, and it's whatever the judges that particular year find appealing. But this one they liked.
What is your favorite, or maybe your couple of favorite Wayne Lukas stories that you've always enjoyed telling?
I'll clean this one up as best I can, but this is in the piece, but it's fun to tell as well. At the Kentucky Derby, it was in the mid-'90s. I can't remember the exact year, but Wayne, being the former basketball coach that he was, and still very interested in basketball all through his life, became very good friends with Bobby Knight, the top college basketball coach, and invited him out to the Derby one year. So they're at the barn at the Kentucky Derby, and there's a huge throng of press people wanting to speak to both of them, and are gathered around for those media scrums that you and I have been in over the years. Mm-hmm. And Wayne is feeling pretty cheeky that morning, and he waves his arm down the shed road in front of all the press members. He says, "Bobby, these are the horses," showing off all his top horses that he had in the barn then. And then he very slowly brings his arm back as he says the following, "And Bobby, these are the horses' asses." as he addresses the media.
Sure.
Yeah. So that one is imprinted on my brain. It was you know what, it was at our expense, but it is a really funny line. I mean, it was pretty good.
That's fantastic, and it really kind of epitomizes what Wayne Lukas could be all about, and often was. He loved to have fun, right? And I remember I was always, even in 2003 when I first got involved with the sport and started expanding and saying, okay, now I need to get out and talk to some of the connections. And Wayne Lukas, even at that point, for me, was a bit intimidating to walk up to and approach. But over the years, that wasn't a thing anymore. And he loved – it was always so much fun because he would always have a little quip, or he'd like to have a little fun with you. But he would always ask about things outside of horse racing too, which I thought was neat. I said, boy, Wayne Lukas actually cares about what I'm doing.
Very much so. I mean, he didn't forget names. I mean, he was remarkable. All the people that he'd meet, media-wise, and you wouldn't see him for a couple of years or something. And boy, you walk into his barn, and it's like, "Hey, Jay, how you doing?" It's like that. And same with you. I mean, it was remarkable that way. The other thing, I was thinking also about just sort of how he changed. I mean, as you know, when he would win races in his later years, he would bring children into the winner's circle to get a photo, and then he'd pay for the winner's circle photo to be given to the parents of the child. I mean, he didn't do anything like that, obviously, when he first came around. So I mean, that's just another example, I think, of how comfortable he became and how he realized what his position was in the sport and how he wanted to kind of pay it forward. That was just another example of that.
Jay, oftentimes when a trainer joins me on my Trainer Talk show, I will ask them about the greatest training job they ever did. What do they consider to be the greatest training job? A lot like Jack Nicklaus will talk about the greatest shot that he ever made. What do you consider to be Wayne Lukas's greatest training feat?
Boy, it might be winning 2 stakes in 5 days with Effervescing, which is one of the when he first really came around back in 1978. I mean, it'd be something like that and sort of a short-term thing. You could obviously look at winning colors, winning the Derby, and being the first filly to win the Derby in, 80 years when that happened. But the other thing, I mean, these are sort of comparing apples and oranges, but I think the lengthy careers that horses like Serena Song and Lady Secret had, where they were winning multiple Grade 1 races, including against the boys, those aren't like singular achievements, but the body of work that those horses put together and the longevity that they had and the high level of success that they had and beating males repeatedly, I think those are also incredibly significant. So it's hard to say there's like one thing when you're looking at things that are as diverse as the examples I just gave. I think those are the ones that I'd put in the in the pantheon of Lukas training achievements, I guess.
Jay, congratulations again on this honor. Well-deserved and just a fantastic angle, fantastic piece. And enjoy your time in South Florida. Safe travels there. And take it all in, my friend. You deserve it.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate you having me on. It was great to be with you as always.
Yeah, thanks for the time. Jay Privman here on HRRN, the Eclipse Award winner, going to receive that honor in South Florida here coming up very, very soon. It'll be a special night for him, no doubt. And there have been plenty of those in his career, but this will be another one for Jay Privman. All right, coming up next, going to turn our attention back to the stakes at the fairgrounds. We'll talk about the Silver Bullet Day and a couple of others with Mike Stidham. He's next on the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN, Horse Racing's voice.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Coolmore Stallion Corniche, a $1.5 million OBS April sale topper by Quality Road and a two-time Grade 1 winner.
But it's Corniche. He's just too good. Corniche wins the Breeders' Cup Juvenile.
Voted champion 2-year-old male following his win in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, it's no surprise his 72 yearlings sold for an average of over $170,000, with a top-price colt of $725,000 and a top-price filly of $525,000. Corniche standing for only $15,000 at Coolmore's Ashford Stud.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Love your neighbor toward the inside right there in range as they straighten away now. And then further back to Miss Call, who's tipped wide as they straighten away after 3/4 for Pashmina. 1 minute 12.58 seconds. And Love Your Neighbor comes up the rail. Pashmina was put in tight quarters as Hit Parade comes to take on now Love Your Neighbor. And these two fillies confront each other coming down toward the final 16th. They've kicked away from Pashmina. And then comes Have Faith running in fourth. It is Love Your Neighbor. And on the outside, Hit Parade. Ding dong battle on the untappable Hit Parade. Hit Parade and a photo finish from Love Your Neighbor. Pashmina, Have Faith back in fourth.
John Dooley with the call of the Untappable Stakes. Hit Parade holding off Love Your Neighbor, who is trained by Mike Stidham. Back in action later today in the Fasig-Tipton Silver Bullet Day Stakes at the Fairgrounds. And Mike Stidham is with me now here on HRRN. Mike, appreciate the time.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
Let's talk about that last race. Love Your Neighbor has been, if anything, very, very consistent for you. She keeps knocking on the door. Tell me about that effort in the Untappable.
Well, actually, it was first time we decided to stretch her out to the 2 turns. So it was a bit of an experiment that we thought she would handle, but it was also, stepping up in class quite a bit. So she actually handled both things pretty well, I thought. And then, down the lane there was some bumping going on, and our rider, Axel Concepcion, he actually lost his left iron, and he was riding the last eighth of a mile with maybe the last 16th with only one foot in the iron. So
it made it a little more difficult. So when you consider everything involved, I thought she ran super, and we're hoping for her to take another step forward today.
I said earlier her only poor effort in her 4 career starts came on the synthetic surface at Woodbine last year in the Glorious Song Stakes. Other than that, she's been pretty darn good.
She really has, and she's an honest, really good attitude type filly that's talented, and she goes out there and lays her body down for us every time. We sent her up to Woodbine. She's Ontario Canadian bred, so we wanted to go up and just take a shot up there to see if she was going to be able to handle it, and she obviously hated the surface, so that experiment ended quickly.
Yeah. When did you first get the sense that you might have a runner on your hands with Love Your Neighbor?
Well, from early on, as a 2-year-old, she was working well. She showed us all the, right things that you look for in young horses with mental attitude and physical ability. And, from there, it was what she would do in the afternoon. And the first time we ran her at Colonial, she broke her maiden first time out. So she gave us a hint that she was going to be a nice filly from early on.
Brendan Walsh was with me earlier in the show, and we were talking about the Lecomte, and he made the point, and I think it's a very valid one, that we're trying to find out if we belong on the Kentucky Derby Trail. And I think that's true for just about everybody at this point in mid-January. Yeah. Same with the Kentucky Oaks.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, especially for fillies, for breeding purposes, if you can get any piece of those kind of races like the Oaks, it's huge. So certainly we're hoping that she continues to step up the ladder and makes herself a contender for a race like the Oaks.
Yeah, you want to see a win today, but if she doesn't win, what are you hoping to see from Love Your Neighbor that leads you to believe, okay, we can get on this Kentucky Oaks trail now, and she's going to be a legit contender?
Well, again, even though she looked like she took the step in the untappable forward class-wise, I think this is another forward move that she's got to make to be able to run with, fillies like Atropa and taken by the wind. So, again, this will be another question mark, and we'll see how she handles it. But if she can run with these kind of fillies, then I think we're heading in the right direction toward a race like the Oaks.
Mike Stidham with me here on HRRN. Mike, 2,429 career victories so far, and that number is going to continue to climb in your career. You've had horses like Mystic Guide and Proxy and so many other top horses, so you know what it takes to get to the big dance and to win it. Talk about your approach, whether it comes to a Derby horse or an Oaks horse. What's your approach now to getting them ready and getting them ready to peak when you get to that big race on the first Friday or first Saturday in May?
Well, obviously, once you realize that you've got a talented 3-year-old, whether it be a colt or a filly, from there, what you're looking to do is keep him healthy, and that's something that none of us have complete control over. But trying to do the right thing, keep them healthy, and their mental outlook is very important also. So keeping these horses healthy, both physically and mentally, is the key to getting there. Obviously, you need the horse with the ability, but it's our job as trainers to try to do the right thing in between the races and try to get them there as healthy and happy as we can get them there. So that's our job.
Earlier in the program, you'll send out Epic Style in the Marie Krantz Memorial. That's a much different race. It's for the older fillies and mares, mile and a 16th on the turf. Tell me more about Epic Style.
So Epic Style, obviously, she's another one that goes out there, and she's never been off the board in her life. She just won the first allowance condition. Another one that when we stretched her out in her last start, she looked really good doing it. She won the allowance race. By 3 lengths, did it nicely. And so, again, she's another horse that's stepping into a different class league today, and we're hoping she can make the jump also. She's a well-bred filly that if we can get any kind of black type in a race like this, that's huge for her moving forward as a broodmare. So she's talented. She shows in her 5 starts that, she tries hard every time we send her out there. So another one that we're looking for a big effort from and moving forward class-wise.
We haven't seen her since that allowance win at Fairgrounds November 27th of last year. With young horses moving from 2 to 3, we often talk about the mental, physical development from, say, November to January or February. Is it the same thing? She's a 4-year-old filly, Epic Style. Is it the same thing going from your 3 to 4-year-old season?
Not quite as much, because from 3 to 4, they're more developing physically. Your 3 to 4-year-olds tend to be maturing into an older mare or colt. Whereas with the 2-year-olds, they're still developing from 2 to 3, just as young horses. So with a filly like this, it's a little different because they're a little more experienced, a little older, and they have things more together by the time they're 4 years old.
Mike Stidham here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. Love Your Neighbor in the Silver Bullet Day Stakes, Epic Style in the Marie Krantz Memorial. Mike, any other youngsters we should be keeping an eye on in that Stidham barn as we move down the road to the Derby or the Oaks?
Well, we've got some nice 3-year-olds that are still developing. Anytime you train for Godolphin, you get horses led into your barn that are the best breeding you can get, and you just never know what might be walking into your barn when you get your 2-year-olds in every year. So we've got a few for Godolphin that we're still trying to develop as 3-year-olds, and this spring we'll be getting another group of 2-year-olds in, and there's always a chance that we could wind up with another Mystic Guide or Proxy, and that's what we hope for.
You ever talk to them about trying to make a trade for Sovereignty? Maybe, hey, give them your top 3 horses and 4 horses, and then they'll give you Sovereignty?
Well, unfortunately, I think that's pretty much the luck of the draw. We between Brendan and Brad and Owen Hardy and myself, we all get a group of 2-year-olds, and I think you're just hoping for a good draw in what they send you, and we all have a chance to come up with a champion. So hopefully, this year is going to be my year to come up with a similar horse like Sovereignty.
Isn't that the cool thing? It's all, listen, there's so many trainers that Godolphin is using, but you're all part of the same team, right?
Absolutely. It's all, we're all rooting for, those blue colors to be showing up in the big races. And, Sheikh Mohammed has been, so important for the racing industry all around the world. And so with people like him involved, that's what keeps this business strong and keeps it going. So we love being a part of the team.
Mike, really appreciate the visit. As always, you're always very gracious with your time. Good luck. We love Your Neighbor, Epic Style, and all the horses you're going to be saddling coming up. And let's go get it done later today.
Well, thanks so much. Appreciate being on the show. Thank you.
All right, Mike Stidham here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. Yeah, that Godolphin tree, if you will. And you heard him say they utilize several different trainers, and of course, Bill Mott, the trainer of Sovereignty. It's cool because they're all cheering for each other. They want to beat each other when they have a horse in the same race with each other, but they're cheering for each other. If Mike Stidham isn't going to get Sovereignty, well, let's go Bill Mott. And if Brendan Walsh isn't going to get Mystic Guide, well, let's go Mike Stidham. And I think that it's one of the unique and often not told stories and angles of our sport of thoroughbred racing. That's kind of cool. That's why I wanted to ask Mike that question. He's had a lot of success in his career. More than 2,400 winners. Let's see if he can add to it later today. Okay, coming up next, I'll get you ready for hour number 3, and I'll take a look at a couple dates in racing history as they apply to this particular weekend. This is the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network.
All over America, people are taking the National Radon Test. Have you heard of radon?
Is that a gas?
Is it something that comes up out the ground or something?
It's like poison gas.
Something dangerous that you're supposed to check on to make sure it's not in your home.
Now it's your turn. Answer true or false. Radon is a radioactive gas. True, radon is a radioactive gas. True or false? The Office of the Surgeon General recommends that all homes be tested for radon. True, your home should be tested.
I didn't know that, no.
True or false, radon is the second leading cause of lung cancer. True.
True, I didn't know that.
Radon is the second leading cause of lung cancer. Answer true or false. Homes with radon problems can be fixed. True. Homes with radon problems can be fixed.
So what do you do about it? I'm going to dial the number and call.
1-800-SOS-RADON.
If I don't take care of it, nobody else will.
Keep your family safe from radon. Call now.
1-800-SOS-RADON.
James Brown and Bill Cowher welcoming you back to Dennis Melvin's house. It's time for the Midnight Snack Run.
This is one tricky obstacle course. Sticking to healthy habits in this kitchen is going to take focus and determination, but it can be done, JB.
He's already entered the snack part of the course, and he's eyeballing a jar of chocolatey candy.
That is tempting right off the start.
Uh-oh, he's reaching, Bill, but he pushes it away.
Great stiff arm.
He's approaching a plate of delicious-looking iced cookies.
Oh, Dennis, you only want one of those.
He blows right by him for the apple.
Oh, the fridge. It's make or break time, JB.
He stares down some rich-looking treats. Uh-oh, looks like he's headed for the soda. Wait, he jukes left, grabs the water bottle, and shuts the door with his elbow in record time.
Unbelievable move. I gotta see that again.
And he's out. He even turned off the light.
That's the way you execute a midnight snack run.
Stand Up to Cancer and Rally want you to reduce your risk for cancer.
Go to takeahealthystand.org.
My doctor said I could use something called a biosimilar. Then she told me what it is.
A biosimilar is a type of biologic medication. Just like brand name drugs have generic versions, original biologics can have biosimilars.
So I asked what the benefits are and if they work the same.
Biosimilars have the same safety, effectiveness, and quality as the original biologic. They also offer more medication options at potentially more competitive prices.
My doctor said I could learn more at fda.gov/biosimilars.
Check out the all-new horseracingradio.net. All the same great horse racing radio content in a new, easy-to-use design. Listen to all of our shows streaming live or access the replays anytime. See our schedule, sign up for our newsletter, download our latest podcasts, and so much more. It's all on our website at horseracingradio.net. That's horseracingradio.net. You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Now 5 of them, and Charismatic takes the lead. Charismatic between horses, but on the outside, there goes Lemon Drop Kid just rushing to contention. Lemon Drop Kid, and on the inside, Vision and Verge. Lemon Drop Kid on the outside, Vision and Verge. Charismatic is beaten. Here's the finish. It's going to be tight. Lemon Drop Kid, I believe, held on to win it by a head. Trained by Scotty Schulhofer, ridden by Jose Santos on the inside, Vision and Verge. It's a photo finish. Alberto Castillo Jr. finishing in the photo finish. Charismatic denied the Triple Crown.
Welcome back to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, winding down hour number 2. One more to go with you right up until 11 a.m. Eastern. That was Dave Johnson with the call of the 1999 running of the Belmont Stakes. Lemon Drop Kid denying Charismatic an opportunity at the Triple Crown that year. And the reason I wanted to put that out there coming back from the break, because it ties in to this notable date in racing history. Today, January 17th, 2000, 26 years ago, the first ever NTRA Moment of the Year Award, which you heard me spend plenty of time talking about that award last weekend here on the show. The first ever Moment of the Year Award went to the post-race scene after that 1999 Belmont Stakes. If you recall, jockey Chris Antley holding on to Charismatic's injured foreleg that day. It was a wonderful picture that was captured. It was a wonderful moment. And I don't mean the fact that Charismatic was injured. I mean the compassion of Chris Antley. And so often in our sport we see those things take place, and the riders and the trainers who love these horses so much, it doesn't often make the headlines, and it doesn't often get shown on TV or in print. But that particular moment was the NTRA moment of the year. I think it was a wonderful, beautiful way to kick it off. And kudos to Chris Antley for making sure he did everything he could possibly do for Charismatic after that particular running of the Belmont Stakes. I'll give you a couple more. July 19th, 1955, meaning that Monday, the anniversary of Swaps winning the San Vicente Stakes, the first race of his 3-year-old campaign at Santa Anita. He went on to triumph over Nashua in the Kentucky Derby that year, but was in turn defeated by his rival in the $100,000 match race at Washington Park on August 31st of that year, his only loss of the season. And then Tuesday, January 20th, 1972, I left this one in here. Typically, I don't go all the way out to Tuesday for our historical dates in racing history, but January 20th, 1972, significant. Secretariat was shipped from Virginia to Florida to be trained by Lucian Lauren. Yep, that was Tuesday, the anniversary of that particular historic occurrence. I'll have more for you on next week's program as well. Update on the poll question. Asking you throughout the morning, who will win the Lecomte Stakes? Will it be Chip Honcho for Steve Asmussen? Will it be crowned the Buckeye Thunderbuck or somebody else? And 60% of you saying, come on, Barron, you got it wrong with the top three. It's somebody else. Scott on X comments and says he thinks Stop the Car will be the horse to win it. You heard Brendan Walsh earlier in the program talking about Stop the Car. Probably not a bad selection there. Thunderbuck leading the individual choices with 33%. Absolutely nobody in HRRN Nation this morning saying it's going to be Chip Honcho for Steve Asmussen. So it sounds like many of you share the same opinion that I do on the Gun Runner, where I didn't think it was all that strong of a race. Yeah, he won it, but I wasn't overly impressed. He has to show me again later today. And it sounds like many of you feel the same way because nobody has voted for Chip Honcho to win the Lecomte Stakes this afternoon. All right, Hour 3 coming your way in just a few minutes, and it kicks off with the TwinSpires Triple Play. Joe Kristufek will give you 3 races to watch and wager on at TwinSpires this afternoon. Kurt Becker's Stroll Through Racing History, always a fantastic story. And by the way, thanks to Keeneland. Keeneland back on board as the sponsor of those segments again here in 2026. We love working with them and having them as part of our HRRN family, as we do with all of our sponsors. But our thanks to Keeneland and to Kurt for all the work he puts into those stories. And I've always said that if you're driving cross country or making a long trip and you want to binge listen to something fun and entertaining, just pull up Kurt's Stroll Through Racing Histories. We have a whole page for it on our website. All of our shows and segments broken out individually. Just pop those in. And you will just be blown away by the things you will learn. And the way that Kurt weaves those stories together. Just absolutely fantastic. Again, horseracingradio.net is where you can find them, and you can listen to all the podcasts that we do on your favorite podcast platform. Earlier in the show, I had a chance to visit with Vernon Bush, who is now retired. It was a fantastic interview. Again, it'll be part of the podcast here. George emails the show, and George says, listening to you now and looking forward to your interview with Vernon Bush, my uncle worked the gate at River Downs for like 30 years, and he was there when Vernon started riding at River Downs. I would go sit at the bench with him all day long. Cool thing, George. That's fantastic. Those are the memories. All of us have them. The different memories of being around these jockeys at an early age. And it's great when jockeys take time, and trainers too, when they take time to sit down, owners, when they take time to sit down with fans and really spend time with them. Those are the things that you really remember. And George, certainly remembering his time with Vernon Bush, he had an impact on him. Yeah, it's been a fun 2 hours. Vernon Bush was here, Brendan Walsh was here, Jay Privman was here, and Mike Stidham as well. Again, Joe Kristufek, Kurt Becker, Dale Tim, all part of a loaded third hour of the program. That comes your way next, right after this 10-second pause for station identification. If your local station is leaving us, listen to the full third hour of the program on ESPN 680 in Louisville and streaming at horseracingradio.net and right here on SiriusXM. Stay with us. Hour 3 coming your way next. This is the Horse Racing Radio Network, where racing comes to talk.
This is HRRN, horse racing's voice.
Against the rail, it's Midnight Bourbon. Midnight Bourbon leads them into the final furlong. Leads by 3. Mandaloon and Proxy, they battle it out. It's still Midnight Bourbon. Past the 16th, Midnight Bourbon, Proxy, Mandaloon Gamely. Here it is for Midnight Bourbon. Wins Lecomte. 1 furlong to go. A thriller. Happy American. Mr. Wireless. They battle. Forza de Oro is right there too. Not going down without a fight. It's Happy American for James Graham. Happy American beats Mr. Wireless. Forza de Oro third in the Louisiana Stakes.
Welcome to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
Believe you can. Holds on to this lead from Summer Applause and Any Many. Always here to fourth. Down to the final 16th of a mile. Believe you can for Rosie Dubrovnik. Believe you can. Believe you can in the Silver Bullet Day. All the way.
California Chrome into the final furlong. He's got a 5-length lead on his competition. It is California Chrome in front. And from the back of the pack on the outside, Commanding Curve is taken second. But California Chrome shines bright in the Kentucky Derby.
Now here's Mike Penna.
How about that? The electric voices of John G. Dooley and Larry Colmus bringing you back to hour number 3 here on the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, thrilled to have you along for the ride on a huge day of racing at the fairgrounds in New Orleans. Going to talk more about that coming up here in hour number 3 when we kick it off with the TwinSpires Triple Play. Joe Kristufek will do the honors live from New Orleans here this morning. 10:20, Kurt Becker takes you on his weekly Stroll Through Racing History presented by Keeneland. And at 10:30, you know what time it is, Dale Romans, Tim Wilkin time. I Ask, They Answer, presented by the University of Louisville Equine Industry Program in the College of Business. All kinds of things to get to here in hour number 3. If you missed the first 2 hours of the program, head back to our website, horseracingradio.net, to check out the podcast whenever you get some time. And you can do that, too, on every podcast platform. Without further ado, we say hello to my good friend, Joe Kristufek, in the TwinSpires Triple Play. What's up, Joe? Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Mike. Beautiful day in New Orleans. Big day on tap. Lots going on in the horse racing world. Lots going on in the sports world, especially if you're a Chicago fan.
Oh, my goodness. Joe, I've spent the past 5 days in therapy, okay? Just trying to get over the fact that the Pittsburgh Steelers once again one and done in the playoffs. And that therapy has allowed me to say this to you this morning. Bear down.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, Mike, and don't think I haven't been in your position the vast
I know you have.
of my sports life, and I think that's what makes it so great is, you know, all the frustrations, all the near misses, that when good things do happen, especially when they're somewhat unexpected and against your, you know, fierce division rival like the Packers and the way they won that game, and then Alex Bregman signing with the Cubs literally at halftime, big horse racing guy, and tried to recruit him to the Cubs before, and he signed with us, and that makes me super excited for the baseball season too. So just a great night in Chicago sports, and the Bear season isn't over. Hopefully there's more good stuff to come.
Yeah, Bregman loves horse racing. He's involved with so many good horses in the sport. He's been on this program several times, and always a delight to catch up with him. I'll have to talk with him before the season gets started here.
Yeah, no doubt. I know Cubs convention is this weekend. He just had his introductory press conference, and he's been to the Hawks game, the Bulls game. He's going to the Bears game this weekend. So he's really taking to the city like a duck on water.
You know, I can cheer for almost every team that's left in the playoffs because I have friends that are big fans of those teams that are still remaining. The only team I absolutely cannot cheer for, no way in hell, is the New England Patriots. I hope that the Texans mop the floor with them coming up later.
Well, and that would be the equivalent to my Los Angeles Dodgers, who just signed Kyle Tucker and have spent $8 zillion. Cubs spend too. There's other teams that spend, but their spending's out of control. They won the World Series last year. I don't care who plays them in the playoffs when that comes about later on in the summer, fall. Man, it's out of control. Baseball needs some sort of a salary cap, some sort of provisions to make it a little bit more of a level playing field for everybody.
The road to the Kentucky Derby set to get rolling. Well, it's been rolling, but really kick into another gear with the Lecomte Stakes this afternoon at the fairgrounds. There are 13 races. 6 of those are stakes. And, Joe, you've selected 3 races for our listeners here this morning as part of the TwinSpires Triple Play. So why don't we dive into them? We'll kick it off with race number 7, which is the Duncan F. Kenner Stakes with a purse of $100,000. Post time, 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock local time in New Orleans, which means it's 1 o'clock on the West Coast. How'd you see the Duncan F. Kenner?
Yeah, there's a lot of contenders in here, a lot of horses that are in good form, a lot of horses that are proven in turf sprints. There was a local turf sprint here run December 21st where Hard Headed took on Usually Wrong and some others, and I thought Hard Headed would be a defined favorite. Usually Wrong took a lot of early money, and I'm like, well, that's interesting. Goes off at 2-1, wins the race going away, but is disqualified for stretch interference, and rightfully so, against Hard Headed. Was visually impressive, though, was much the best, did get disqualified. 3-1 in the morning line, and there are many other contenders in this particular field. But if this horse runs the way he ran on December 21st, I think he can win this race. And, you know, I think there are a lot of other bettable horses in the field. So if you can get 5-2, 3-1, Usually Wrong, that might be the right move.
I like the fact that he has tactical speed, too. I always say that these races, and maybe we've discussed this on the program before, Joe, but these turf sprints are typically won by horses who come from off the pace because the early fractions can be so quick in these races, and it sets it up for a horse that comes from out of it. But a horse that has stalking speed where they can stay in touch with the field and not have to make that big move from further back, I think those horses are always dangerous in these kinds of races.
Yeah, you make a great point. You got Wendelson on the rail. That horse has speed. You've got Bear River, who hasn't been himself in his last couple of races, but won the Grade 2 turf sprint at Kentucky Downs. That horse has speed. A couple of others drawn to the outside. So from a positioning standpoint, Mike, and that's a big part of the handicapping process, what's the pace going to be like? Where's the horse that you like going to be positioned? And, when the gates open, everything can change. But, yeah, Usually Wrong should be in the right position on the turn for home. And if he kicks like he did last time, like I said, I think he's going to be tough in here.
Yeah, 7 for 10 lifetime. He's earned $340K, looking to add to that total later this afternoon in the Duncan F. Kenner Stakes. How about race number 12, Joe? That's the second race that you've chosen as part of the TwinSpires Triple Play. It's the Grade 3 Louisiana Stakes, mile and a 16th on the main track. Who wins this one?
Well, I'll preface this by saying every time Moonlight runs a huge race, I'm not on him. Every time that he doesn't, I am on him. So he's been more missed than hit for me. But he won the Cherokee Mile at Churchill, and I know that was a one-turn race. But if you go back to the mile 16th race at Churchill, he defeated Not This Boy, who earlier this meet at Fairgrounds won the preceding stake to this one. Now, he's not in this race, but he ran very well in that particular event. The Fayette, he had some sneaky traffic trouble that particular day. That happened to be the day I liked him off the race at Churchill. But this horse that's in the best form of his career, if you look at the off-the-turf allowance race at Fairgrounds back in March, decimated the field by 10 lengths and did it under wraps. So Chris Block has this horse in the best form of his career as a now 5-year-old. Draws a rail with Jose Ortiz. And 9-2 in the morning line, because you do have just a touch in here who's 8-5. So we should get a good enough price on Moonlight as the likely second or even third choice.
Moonlight's another horse that's going to need some help up front. He likes to have a pace to run at, comes from further back. Does he get that? Obviously, you like him to win the race, but does he get that pace and an honest setup for him?
Yeah, I mean, Willie Dees is a committed front runner. He's going to go. Tarantino, the California Invader, likes to be forward. Accelerize, the newcomer for Todd Pletcher, has been forward in all 3 of his races. So, yeah, I think ground-saving trip. And, again, it's all about trying to find room to run on and off that far turn. But hopefully won't have to go 6, 7, 8 wide. That could compromise his chances. But I like him a lot better from that rail draw, and I do think the pace will be fast enough.
Joe, have you noticed any trends as to how the main track has been playing? Has it been playing to speed, been playing to closers, or has it been pretty even?
Well, I think in general, dirt tracks tend to somewhat favor speed. We haven't had a lot of those deep off the back closers, but at the same time, the 2 turns can be the great equalizer. So I wouldn't go into this card thinking about any sort of bias either way. Go into it thinking like you're playing a normal fair playing dirt track. And, I think you'll do just fine. Nothing, I would say more so on the turf. With the rails down this week, we have seen forward horses do a little bit better because closers have been dominating the grass for the most part at the fairgrounds this meet. But with the rails at 0 and that fresh grass on the inside, it's kind of been a little bit of an equalizer.
Okay, number 1, Moonlight, Jose Ortiz aboard for trainer Chris Block in race number 12. The top pick for Joe Kristufek, 9-2 on the morning line. Joe, that brings us to the signature event, the Grade 3 LeCompte, purse of $250K. It is for the 3-year-olds, 1 1/16 on the main track. Who are the main storylines and the main contenders in here?
Yeah, so you've got the winner and the third place finisher from the Gun Runner, and Chip Honcho. Reminds me a lot of Track Phantom, who dominated the series here a couple of winters ago for the same trainer, Steve Asmussen. And then you got the Ohio bred, Crown the Buckeye. And quite honestly, Mike, I don't like horses coming out of the Gun Runner. I thought it was a stagger fest the last 70 yards or so. So I'm looking for some fresh faces. I believe Mesquite had a Lasix issue that particular day, got Lasix when he wasn't supposed to, had to be scratched. I know Cherie DeVoe was extremely upset and disappointed. I think he's got a big chance. But it's interesting because Jose Ortiz, who rode Mesquite at Churchill and rode Golden Tempo in the sprint win on Gun Runner Day, elects to ride Golden Tempo. Again, that horse has never been 2 turns, but he was supremely impressive in that sprint race on December the 20th, overcoming a very slow start. So does Jose think that horse is better? Cherie gets Flavian Pratt, who she doesn't normally ride, but might be the best jockey in the country going right now, so certainly not a downgrade in riders. I'm picking Cherie DeVoe in this race, Mike, but for your purposes, I'm giving a slight edge to Mesquite, who does have 2-turn experience.
Yeah, 8-1 on the morning line. Golden Tempo also 8-1, so comparable from a price perspective. Back to Golden Tempo for just a minute, Joe. You talk about that one sprint race at Churchill on December 20th and how impressive that win was, coming from far off the pace, drawing away to win by a length and a half. You look at the pedigree. I know that he's trying 2 turns for the first time. By Curlin out of a Bernardini mare. This horse doesn't want to sprint. He's going to relish the added distance.
Yeah, and Cherie's so good, stretching horses out from sprint to route. The Dam, Carumba, grade 1 place is a 2-turn horse, so checks all those boxes, bred and owned by Phipps and St. Elias Stables, so powerful combinations there. The Curlins only get better with age, and, Jose lands here, so that was, that made it even that much more interesting to me. Like I said, she's so good stretching horses out from sprints to routes. But this horse broke so slowly on debut, Mike. And when you watch replays, you try to figure out why. Was the horse pinched back? Was the horse bumped? Did the horse stumble? The horse just simply hesitated coming out of the gate. So they got to get that cleaned up moving forward. And the horse, A, is only making its second start, and B, has never been 2 turns. This might be the better prospect moving forward, month, 2, 6 months down the line. But maybe with Mesquite's 2-turn experience, he might be the better horse on this day. That's how I wound up splitting the 2.
Yep, another horse, Mesquite, who also had to overcome some adversity in his previous win, November 7th at Churchill Downs. We'll see him for the first time as a 3-year-old later today. And he is Joe Kristufek's top pick to win the Lecomte, 8-1 on the morning line. So, Joe, let's recap before I let you go. Race 7 today at the fairgrounds, you go with number 4, Usually Wrong, at 3-1. Race 12, you'll take number 1, Moonlight, at 9-2. And in race 13, the Lecomte, number 7, Mesquite, at odds of 8-1 on the morning line. I'm quite certain TwinSpires has plenty of opportunities that horse players can take advantage of later today. So what's going on with TwinSpires?
Yeah, so the Triple Crown prep races, they got a $10,000 win ladder on Saturday at Fairgrounds. That means there's $10,000 in the bonus pool. The more winners you pick and bet on as your first win bet, I believe it's a $10 win bet. Definitely double check that, because sometimes it's a $5 win bet, but make sure you opt in. The more winners you pick, you bet, with that first win bet in the races at Fairgrounds here today, you'll unlock those bonuses. So 4 winners, 5 winners, 6 winners. The more winners you pick and bet, the more bonus money you unlock. I've had some success opting in and doing this previously myself as one of my favorite promotions at TwinSpires. So it's the road to the Kentucky Derby, $10,000 win ladder, obviously the Lecomte, 20 points to the winner on the road to Kentucky Derby 152. So super excited about the race, super excited about the promotions, super excited about the entire card.
Cool stuff. Joe Kristufek here with the TwinSpires Triple Play. Joe, good luck, enjoy the races, and best of luck to your Chicago Bears this weekend. Yeah,
we'll hope that the sports gods shine upon us one more time. Like, we got another home game. We'll see. And again, if they lose, it's been a great season, but when you get in this position, you don't get in this position very often. So let's see if they can follow through. Appreciate it.
Enjoy it, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, cheers, my man.
All right, there you go with the TwinSpires Triple Play. Don't forget you can play all those races any way you like. Just make sure you're doing it with TwinSpires. Coming up next, Kurt Becker will take you on his weekly Stroll Through Racing History presented by Keeneland. Those stories always fantastic, so stay tuned for that. But before we get to that point, it's time to update you on the Mojo Racing Impossible Trivia question. If you missed it during the first 2 hours of the show, here it is. A horse foaled in 1850 named Lexington is recognized as one of the greatest broodmare sires of all time. As a racehorse, he won 6 out of his 7 career starts. Who is the only horse to ever defeat him? Think about that one. Get your mojo working. See if you can get it right. The answer comes your way in the final segment of the show, right around 10:55 Eastern. Kurt Becker, Stroll Through Racing History. That's next on the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Tenda Equine and Pet Care products have been keeping world-class equine athletes happy and healthy for generations. Keep your equine athlete looking and performing well with Tenda Next Generation Wound and Skin Care Treatment, along with nutritional supplements, leg and muscle care products, salves, hoof care, poultice, topical aids, and grooming products. Visit tendahorse.com today.
This coming holiday weekend will be a tremendous one filled with racing and fun for the whole family at Santa Anita. On Saturday and Sunday, along with world-class racing, we will present our famous Burgers and Brews events, where you can enjoy delicious burgers from LA's best burger vendors and cold craft brews from LA's top breweries. It will be a weekend packed to the brim with burgers, brews, and the best thoroughbreds in the country. Then we will have special holiday racing on Monday, January 19th with $2 beers, hot dogs, and sodas. And we're going to help make your day more profitable with a selection for Monday's card. It's number 2 in race 7, Mrs. Astor. She is pure class and has become a win machine. Bet her with confidence. Bet with confidence at Santa Anita Park with the best wagering menu in the country that includes 2 pick 4s, 2 pick 5s, a $3 late pick 3, the ever popular coast to coast pick 5, and the $5 late daily double, all with a low 15% takeout, plus the traditional $2 pick 6. It's all here at the great race place, Santa Anita Park.
Hey, this is Mike Penna. Join me every Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern for the show trainers listen to, Trainer Talk, presented by Fasig-Tipton. From Hall of Famers to up-and-comers, you'll get to know the men and women who make this sport go, up close and personally. Listen on Sirius 162, XM 207, or stream the show live on our website at horseracingradio.net. My guest this week is Eric Foster. And if you miss it or want to listen again, download the podcast at horseracingradio.net or your favorite podcast platform.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Hello, I'm Kurt Becker. Thanks for joining me as I take another stroll through racing history presented by Keeneland. He was called the Spokane Valley's contribution to the history of thoroughbred racing and one of the Northwest's greatest sports stars. He received fan mail and Christmas cards, and he found his way into 2 halls of fame. His name was Turbulator. Foaled April 6, 1965 at the farm of breeders Tom and Marguerite Crawford in Veradale, Washington, Turbulator was a bay colt later gelded by Cold Command out of Fur Peace. He was a grandson of Triple Crown winner War Admiral on his sire's side and a great-grandson of Triple Crown winner Count Fleet through his first dam. Mrs. Crawford would later recall that Turbulator, who was named for an equine physical therapy device, never ran with the other colts in the pasture. Instead, he would wait, then run after them and pass them all. It would be a foreshadowing of things to come. Sent to Playfair Racecourse in Spokane as a juvenile, Turbulator never made a start as a 2-year-old, but instead was sent back home after contracting a virus. He was then transferred to the Crawfords farm near Missoula, Montana, where unfortunately he tore open a knee after stumbling across a sprinkler in the pasture. Fearing he would never race, the Crawfords offered him to a neighboring farmer for a pair of cows, but the farmer declined. Turbulator would make it to the races, but his debut would not happen until the spring of 1969, when he was 4 years of age. Tom Crawford had suffered a heart attack in the interim, prompting his physician to advise him to get rid of his racehorses. Instead, Tom kept the horses and got rid of his automobile agency. In the meantime, he also brought hunting partner and Spokane businessman John Marvin Farnsworth into the fold as co-owner of Turbulator. Racing in the Crawfords' pink silks and with Tom as trainer, Turbulator raced for a claiming tag of $1,500 and made starts in Idaho and Oregon to begin his career. He went winless in those outings. After giving him a brief rest, the Crawfords shipped Turbulator to Playfair in August, where he would begin the meet as a maiden. 2 months later, he would own a 7-race winning streak, earning him honors as Horse of the Meeting. It was a remarkable transformation. Turbulator won 7 consecutive races from August 22nd through October 26th, ranging in distance from 6 furlongs to 2 miles. That string included stakes wins in the Washington State Breeders' Handicap, the Inland Empire Marathon Handicap, and a division of the Playfair Mile. Most of those victories came in last to first fashion with spirited stretch runs, and mostly with jockey Dan Castle in the irons. The 1970 campaign at age 5 would bring more of the same in terms of wins, but with jockey Larry Pierce in the saddle. There was a win in the Yakima Mile in stakes and track record time at Yakima Meadows. There were 5 stakes wins at Long Acres, including a world record 6.5 furlongs and 1:14 in the Governor's Handicap. And there was a repeat victory in the Washington State Breeders' Handicap while carrying an event record 134 pounds, a race in which Turbulator conceded 16 to 27 pounds to his 9 rivals. All told, for 1970, Turbulator compiled 7 stakes wins, 3 track records, and a world record to go with Horse of the Meet titles at all 3 of Washington's parimutuel tracks. For the cherry on top, he was named Washington's Horse of the Year. From August of 1969 through October of 1970, Turbulator had seemed magical, if not invincible. The breathtaking stretch runs and resultant winning streaks had made him a 4-legged folk hero, as he received fan mail and Christmas cards, and fans even wrote songs about him. It was said of Turbulator that he had the most lethal closing rush in the history of Northwest racing. His running style packed the drama of a midsummer thunderstorm, and he was an ageless wonder with a story part Walt Disney and part Hans Christian Andersen. There didn't seem to be enough superlatives to describe him. Someone called Turbulator one of the all-time equine heroes in Spokane. Someone else said he was one of the most popular, dramatic, and widely acclaimed horses in the history of Northwest racing. Others proclaimed him one of the Northwest's greatest sports stars and the 4-footed star of the Inland Empire. Even United Press International called him one of Washington State's sports heroes of 1970. By the time his retirement from racing was announced in June of 1975, Turbulator boasted a record of 21 wins, including 11 stakes victories and just over $100,000 in earnings. He would be inducted into both the Inland Empire Hall of Fame and the Washington Thoroughbred Hall of Fame. Turbulator died in November of 1989 at the age of 24. We want to thank Washington Hall of Famer John White for recommending Turbulator for this feature, a native of Spokane who enjoyed a 50-year career in racing as a writer, television broadcaster, and racing official, as well as morning line maker for 8 Breeders' Cups. White notes that a head bust of Turbulator is the only head bust of a horse at the Washington Thoroughbred Hall of Fame exhibit at Emerald Downs. White adds that being inducted into this Hall of Fame was extra special, as he got to join Turbulator, his all-time favorite horse, as an honoree. It's a reminder of the enduring love and appreciation which Turbulator inspired. Please join me again next week when I take another stroll through racing history presented by Keeneland. For HRRN, I'm Kurt Becker.
Nobody weaves a story together like Kurt Becker. My thanks to Kurt for that story. If you missed any of Kurt's Stroll Through Racing History segments, check out the Stroll Through Racing History page on our website, horseracingradio.net, and you can listen to all of those shows. And don't forget, too, about our weekly Brisnet.com call-in show, 6 to 7 Eastern, every Thursday with Bobby Newman and James Scully. It is your chance to call in and talk racing with our experts. Every Thursday, 6 to 7 Eastern, here on HRRN. Coming up next, I Ask, They Answer with Dale Romans and Tim Wilkin. This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on the Horse Racing Radio Network.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
A Keeneland session topper from the first crop of the all-conquering Vekoma. Jonathan's Way was touted by purchaser John Moynihan as, quote, one of the best-looking horses you'll ever lay your eyes on. Out of an undefeated stakes-winning juvenile daughter of Indian Charlie, Jonathan's Way is a complete outcross through his first 5 generations and comes from the immediate female family of the great Dynaformer. Brilliantly talented with a pedigree and physical makeup to be commercial dynamite. Jonathan's Way, a future stallion star, standing at Airdrie Stud. Think about it.
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you prevent wildfires.
Dude, I've got this. I've been camping since I was 5 years old.
But I am a camping influencer.
You know what? I'll bet you $5. Assistant Smokey, what is the best way to put out a campfire?
To put out a campfire, drown with water, stir, drown again. Then make sure the fire is out cold by feeling with the back of your hand.
Wait, really?
I'll take the $5.
Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Check out the all-new horseracingradio.net. All the same great horse racing radio content in a new, easy-to-use design. Listen to all of our shows streaming live or access the replays anytime. See our schedule, sign up for our newsletter, download our latest podcasts, and so much more. It's all on our website at horseracingradio.net. That's horseracingradio.net. This is I Ask, They Answer on the Equine Forum on HRRN.
It's Hemika in front, and Lawali is ahead away second. 2 more to Rivera. Explorer will go 4 wide as she launches that bid. They turn for home. Hemika hanging tough along the inside of Lawali, and Explorer finding her best stride in the center of the track now, and with 1 furlong to go, the class of Explorer on full display as Bob Baffert's dominance in the Santa Ynez continues. Explorer overwhelms them by 5 lengths. Lawali second, Rivera third in front of Hemika.
I know Timmy's going to be thrilled that we started the show with a Bob Baffert horse, and it is Explorer, who was ultra impressive with that win in the Santa Ynez last weekend. Frank Miramati had the call. Is she now the horse to beat in the race for the Kentucky Oaks? And guys, we've all heard it. He looks like a Derby horse. Today, we tell you exactly what that means. Plus, is Hillendale owner John Sakura right or wrong in his opinion about Breeders' Cup helping California racing? All of those topics and much, much more are straight ahead on a loaded edition of I Ask, They Answer with trainer Dale Romans and turf writer Tim Wilkin, all presented by the University of Louisville, Equine Industry Program and the College of Business, and all starting just 30 seconds from right now.
A spark turns into a dream, and your dreams fuel a love that will last a lifetime. Turn your passion into a career with experienced guidance, a thorough study of equine business, as well as opportunities to get your hands dirty and put your mind to work. Located in the heart of horse country, let your passion fuel your profession at the U of L Equine Industry Program. Apply today.
Guys, before we dive into the topics, I want to bring this up to you and let you know that we want to say a special thank you to our friends at the University of Louisville Equine Industry Program and the College of Business. Amy Lawyer and the team there do a fantastic job. They are with us again as a sponsor of this segment for another season, and we really appreciate it. They have been the sponsor of this show for a very long time, and that is very welcome news on this Saturday morning, isn't it?
Yes, it is. That's a great program over there. I interact with a lot of those kids, and they have one working for me. It's a really good program.
Yeah, applause to those guys for staying on board with us. It means a lot.
I'm going to see if we can work it out where maybe the students will submit a couple of questions for you guys throughout the year.
They absolutely should.
They might stump us good, though.
Yeah,
they probably will. Well, listen, let's kick it off with a listener-submitted question. We have several of those on today's show, which is welcome news to Dale, I'm sure. He loves when we get questions from listeners, as does Tim. Rick in Sacramento wants to know, with Derby prep season getting ready to shift into another gear, he asked if you guys could elaborate on Dale's comment from last weekend, in which he said Commandment, quote, looked like a Derby horse. Rick wants to know, what specifically is that look? For those fans sitting in the grandstand, what should we look for when we watch all of these prep races coming up? Dale, it was your comment. You want to tell them?
There's 2 different ways to approach the question. One is physically look. How do they look? They're big enough, strong enough. You know, we can get into the weeds and talk about shoulders and hip and leg alignment and all that kind of stuff. So they physically look like a quality animal. The other thing is speed and stamina. If they're quick enough and have enough stamina, that looks like a Derby contender.
Which one's more important?
At the end of the day, it's the speed and the stamina. You know, we try to predict who's going to have that when we go to the yearling sales and start buying, but a lot of times you're wrong. One of the best horses I ever trained, Little Mike, was a horse that nobody would have looked at on the end of a shank. And nobody had more speed and stamina than him, winning 1.5 miles on the grass on the lead every jump of the way.
You know, I've seen enough Derby horses in my time to, not that I know what I think a Derby horse would look like, but, you know, you look at the breeding, how much they cost, physical conformation, the pedigree. I mean, if you get a horse that's by End of Mischief or Gun Runner or Tappet, you might automatically open your eyes. Yeah, okay. And okay, throw that one in there. But the strong build, and a lot of people think that it's a crock when people say, well, you look in the horse's eye and how alert they look and that they like their job and things like that. That's all of those factors go into molding resume of looks on a horse. But I remember there was a saying, I believe it's a saying that's been going on forever, when they say every yearling that goes through the sales ring looks like a Derby horse. Obviously that's not true, but a lot of people think that because every horse looks great in the sale. But, a trainer, that's his job to be able to pick out a horse like that. Right, Dale?
Yep. That separates a lot of people who can pick a yearling out and who can't. And there's a lot of trainers, I think, will tell you they're not really good at yearling people. Bobby Frankel used to tell me that. He never went to a yearling sale, but he knew what to do when they got him. He had the right people that he respected going out and picking.
Go ahead, Tim. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But can you look at a horse in the sale and all of a sudden you go, wow, that this horse just looks like he breathes different air? Can you tell that right off when you see a horse in the ring?
Yeah, you can tell the big difference in them, and it doesn't always pan out, but you can sure tell who's got all the right parts in all the right places. But the biggest thing you can do is look at one and say that's not. This horse isn't going to make it. He just doesn't have it.
You can tell that.
Can tell that easy.
How much do you look into confirmation?
Negative prediction's big. Confirmation's really important, and that's more about being sound and talented. You could be a crooked-legged horse and be talented, but when you're putting a lot of weight on one certain spot of the leg and don't have the true shock absorbing for the catch and the push behind, the push is real important. If confirmation's off, then they usually don't stay very sound.
Now, Dale, people have asked me this before, and I'm going to ask you. How do you learn to do that, to be able to pick out these different things on horses that a normal person might not see?
That's something that's hard to teach. I mean, you can tell them you got the length of the neck and ratio with the length of the back and the size of the shoulder and the forearm compared to the cannon bone. But the bottom line is you got to look at a lot of horses over a lot of years and been in a barn a long time to really understand what works, because there's so many different things. You could tell somebody that they can't have a short-necked horse, but a horse's neck can be a little bit shorter if his body's a little bit shorter, if it fits him, if they're proportioned properly. It's not an easy thing. It would be hard to be an adult and walk in off the street and learn. It would cost a lot of money and take a lot of years.
The physical component is one side of this conversation, but how about the second part of Rick's question where he said, for fans sitting in the grandstand, what should they look for when they watch all of these prep races? From a performance standpoint, what do you like to see a horse doing in these prep races that makes you say, that horse is a Derby horse?
Well, for one, how easy they're moving, how I like horses that run in pretty big fields that can get out of trouble. They've got the acceleration to get themselves out of trouble. I think that's important for a Derby horse in a 20-horse field. I've had a lot of jockeys tell me they don't get in trouble with a horse. If they've got enough horse to get through a tight hole, they'll go through. And how easy they're getting over the ground.
But what about a horse that has, wins the Derby prep in a short field? How does he impress you? If he doesn't, what was it, journalism last year? He had trouble in that short field. What was it, Santa Anita Derby? Yeah.
Yeah, but being able to overcome it and get out of it is important. But again, it's stamina and also having a quick acceleration.
I remember doing an interview.
It's a lot easier to judge horses that do run in big fields.
I remember doing an interview with Jerry Bailey years and years ago, one of our first shows when we were just getting started hosting shows from Churchill Downs. And he came on the program and he talked about a horse in order to win the Kentucky Derby, you have to be able to make multiple moves and multiple runs within the race. And he said you have to have all these gears, and then you have to have a horse that after he makes that move, gets into a spot that he can settle again before making the next move. And I've never forgotten that. Dale, is that something that folks should look for somehow, some way in these prep races?
Now, I don't know if you'd be able to really see that sitting in the grandstand, but those are the rare individuals, and Derby horses are rare. You know, they've only had a handful in my life. King's Joy was probably the best example. That could be anywhere, put himself anywhere. And Jerry rode him, and he would tell me the same thing. If he wanted to be on a lead, he'd be on a lead. If he wanted to come from dead last, and he can make a middle move and turn him off. That's a rare thing to do, to get a horse to start and stop. Plus, it takes a lot of energy to start and stop once you get your momentum going. You know, Jerry told me one time when we were talking about a race, he said, you know, when you're in a position to whether whoa or go, always go. I like that, too. Just stay out of trouble. Go forward all the time. Take back as little as possible because it's really hard for a horse to recover from that.
Keep him in the clear. Rick in Sacramento, really appreciate the question. That was a good one. Shane in North Carolina has our next topic for us. And, Shane, we appreciate it. He wants to focus on the Kentucky Oaks picture. And he says with her 5 1/4 length victory in last Saturday's Santa Ynez, is Explora now the clear Kentucky Oaks leader, or is Super Corridora, who of course won the juvenile fillies in the Breeders' Cup, is she still the filly to beat based on that resume? Tim, what do you think?
Well, if you go by the standings, Explorer is now in front with 35 points, and Super Cordova's got 30. I still think it's way, way, way too early to say which horse is the best horse as we head towards the Oaks. I mean, Explorer, you know, she beat 3 others in that California race at 7 furlongs. The other Baffert horse in that race, there was another Baffert horse in the race, but there would have been 2, but Bottle of Rouge was scratched. That's the horse that's owned by Bob's wife, Jill. You know, Super Cordova, she has the Breeders' Cup juvenile filly on her resume after a maiden. And, you know, she's going into and she heads towards the Oaks. It's you know, in the last 15 years or so, I mean, there hasn't been a juvenile fillies winner that's won the Oaks. There's only been 2 in the history of the race that have won it. Open Mind and Silver Bullet Day came back to win the Oaks. I think the best finish in the last few years was Just FYI. It was Just FYI who was second. I'm not going to go out and say that any horse is leading the group right now. I mean, saying like this is the horse that's the favorite. I mean, there's still a long ways to go for it, and a lot of things can happen. Hell, we might not have even seen the winner of the Oaks yet. But I guess you'd have to say Explorer is leading the division right now because she's got the most points.
Is that the filly that you would be buying right now, Tim? Is she the hot filly?
No, not me. I like Zany, the Todd Pletcher horse that's won both her starts by a combined 15 lengths. She won the Demonzel. I'm going to butcher the name, but Demonzel by 8.5 lengths. The Rapoli, owned by Rapoli. I think that filly's got a ton of talent. That would be the one I would be buying right now.
Dale, you're close with Terry Finley of West Point Thoroughbreds, the owners of Super Corridora. What's the vibe around that camp with her?
We're hearing good things. I'm going to stick on the bandwagon. Yeah, we are friends, and he does keep me up to date on her. I'll tell you one thing I like about her. It's not a normal move for John Sadler to want to go from a maiden race to the Breeders' Cup juvenile fillies, and and I think going into it, he thought he was going to win. And I respect what he thinks. I think thinks he has a special filly here. And the way she did it, I mean, there wasn't a stride in the race. She looked like she was going to get beat to me.
Well, there's no doubt she's got talent. There's no doubt about it.
She's got a lot of talent. It'll be fun to follow. You know, she's got to come back and make her 3-year-old debut. We talked on the show a lot of times about the change horse to make from 2 to 3. She's got to step up her game, but I'm going with the fact that John's so high on her, and I know he's not one just to be talking.
Yeah, Shane, good question there. Of course, the Derby gets so much publicity leading up to it and then throughout the Kentucky Derby week and then into the Derby. The Oaks fillies should not be forgotten. This is a contentious group. It should make for a lot of fun racing leading up to the Kentucky Oaks in that first Friday in May. Let's say hello to our good friend Nick Zito. It's that time of the show where Dale and Tim have the chance to tell me if the following statement is right or wrong.
Yeah, right or wrong. Am I right? What do you think? Right or wrong?
Guys, this isn't my opinion, but I'm going to ask you about John Sakura, who last week, the owner of Hillendale at Alapa, one of the leading breeders in the sport, told TDN he's always critical of the fact that Breeders' Cup keeps $100 million of nominators' awards for a rainy day fund. Sakura went on to suggest that money should be put into use to help the thoroughbred industry, in particular, the survival of California racing. So, guys, I'm going to ask you, does John Sakura have a point here? Is he right or wrong?
Yeah, right or wrong. Am I right? What do you think? Right
Dale,
or wrong?
what do you think?
I think he's wrong in his approach. And John's great for the game. He's got a lot of opinions, and he's always involved. But you can't just subsidize persons. That's putting a Band-Aid on the problem. Now, if you could take that $100 million and figure out a situation where you can make it, put it on a better foundation in California where it can grow itself back to where it used to be, then let's use some of that $100 million. But just to flat subsidize purses, I just think that's a Band-Aid on an issue.
It is. And his intentions are so good, obviously. I mean, he wants to do what's right for the game and to help where help is needed. But, I mean, is the Breeders' Cup responsible for being that group that does that? I mean, the Breeders' Cup is the Breeders' Cup. They're not, they don't oversee racing in different jurisdictions. I don't think it's their responsibility to be sending money to everybody, to like the Salvation Army or something like that. I understand where John's coming from, and I get it, but I don't know if this is the right way to do it.
Obviously he was critical of the fact the Breeders' Cup keeps roughly $100 million of nominators awards for a rainy day fund. Dale, are you okay with them holding on to that money, or should it be used, if it's not for California racing, to do something to help thoroughbred racing?
I think they should use it for something. They got to find the right thing. But I don't think purse subsidies are the answer. I think, when the right issue comes up and John hits the right idea, they should start using some money.
Now, the California racing issue is a pretty big issue.
It's a big issue, but we got to get to the core of the problem. I mean, you can't just keep bailing out a boat. You got to patch the hole.
All right, we're going to bring Nick Zito back for that segment next week, right or wrong. Dale and Tim will tell me if another statement or two is right or wrong. We appreciate Nick and all of his help with that segment. He does it every single week with us, and that's really cool. Maybe we'll get Nicky back on the program here before too long and get his thoughts on some of these issues. Guys, one more topic before our final point of the week, and this is a two-part question from Tom in St. Louis. He wants to know, Tim, I'll come to you first. When you get your packet to vote for the Eclipse Awards, is it just the ballot, or does the packet include past performances of horses in each division, NTRA ratings for different groups, or results charts? Does it have any of that in it? I know the answer. What say you?
Well, they give you a whole package of, obviously you get the ballot, but you also get the past performances of every horse that's in every category. And they have the Equibase stats in there for the trainers, breeders, owners, jockeys, apprentice jockeys. There's no charts per se, but if you want to, you do your due diligence, you can look up charts yourself. But they give you plenty of information. It's not like you just got to have a ballot and you're betting and you're voting blindly. And it's good information. It's they're the DRF past performances for each horse that's in each category for every race they had in the year 2025. So it's a good tool.
I like the fact that if you wait until after the Malibu Stakes, right, which is the typical opening day feature of Santa Anita, that it's updated. So all of those races are included in the past performances.
Not the package they sent out. The package
not the packet. The online version of it.
Yes, they do. And, they encourage all voters to wait until after the 26th, those final races, because, it could have an impact on some of the, top three, maybe not the top one, but the top three. And as we know, the only horse that matters in the voting is not your top vote. So, and they encourage you to vote after those last races, even though it's a tight window because you only have like 2 or 3 days after that to get your votes in. But, it's a really good – they give you all the information you need, and anybody that abstains in any category, shame on them because you got all the information there.
Yeah. Dale, I'll ask you the second part of Tom's question here. And it seems like the foal shortage issue is getting a lot of attention from our listeners. We had the question last week about it, and then Tom wants to know, because of the shortage in foals, is the sport headed toward racing only Thursday through Sunday? What do you think?
I don't know. It's a big problem. I'm hoping it turns around. I keep thinking it will. And with the way racing, the state of racing, especially in Kentucky, is that we get, in the way the sales are going, that we get some people that can afford to breed more horses. It's a problem. I mean, the horsemen were behind doing the cutting Gulfstream Park to 4 days a week instead of just beating up the purse account on a day with bad racing. But we're going to have to do something to get more horses out there.
Yeah, traditionally most tracks, or a lot of tracks, are dark on Monday, Tuesday, so you'd be adding one more dark day to the schedule. Is that the way to handle the shortage in foals?
It's a way. I hate to hear it. I don't like contraction. You keep contracting, you end up going. But, it's just an expensive process, and very few horses are really good. That's the problem, and we've got to make it possible for breeders to breed horses and come out ahead at the end of their investment and give them a little better chance. So figure out something where we can get more horses being bred. We do need more horses.
Well, isn't it right now? I mean, Saratoga goes 5 days. Keeneland, I believe, goes 5 days, don't they? In their short meets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You don't see, and it's 4 days out in California and Gulfstream. Oaklawn goes 4, and they're off right now until the 30th because they have that winter break now. Churchill, they're 4 days too, aren't they, Dale?
Good. Hang on they're 4 days.
So, I mean, just about all the tracks other than the boutique ones, are going 4 days. Del Mar is, they're 4. I believe they go, I don't know if they go 4. Do they go 4? But,
Beer, water or something?
Most tracks are doing that now.
Like Dale said, it's a way to handle it. Maybe that the trend is heading that way, and as Timmy pointed out, there are several tracks that are already moving that direction, have been for a while now. Tom in St. Louis, we appreciate it. If you have a question you want to hear Dale and Tim discuss, or a topic, you can email it to us, mike@horseracingradio.net, or you can post it on our social media pages, and we will do our best to work it into the show for you. Guys, it's that time where we wrap it up with our final point of the week. Tim Wilkin, as you do every week, it's on the tee for you. Knock it out of the park.
I was sad to see the news that Chris McCarron's brother, Greg, passed away at the age of, I think, 78, 77.
Yep.
He was one of the first jockeys, Greg was, that I interviewed in Saratoga right before he won the Alabama with Broom Dance back in 1982. And, he was just like Chris, class guy through and through. And he put me so much at ease. I was just a kid, just, interviewing this guy. And he made it so easy for me to get through the interview. And and just a great guy. And then he won the race, so it was even better. But I was sad to see that his passing.
He's a good man. Chris, one of the best. I'm just going to say that last weekend, Bill Mott cut 2 first-time starters loose. Keep them on your radar. Lee, you're going to have to do the research and give them the names. I don't remember the names, but keep an eye on those 2. Bill Mott could go 2 years back-to-back.
We look forward to seeing them. And, Bill Mott just been red hot the past couple of seasons. Guys, appreciate it. Enjoy the races, and we're going to do this all over again next Saturday.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Bye.
All right. I Ask the Answer, presented every week by the University of Louisville Equine Industry Program and the College of Business. I'm back with more, including the answer to this week's Mojo Racing Impossible Trivia question. That's next on the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network, where racing comes to talk.
Are you tired of renting status?
Do the big boys promise to show you the world, but all you ever see is a declining bank account? Mojo Racing Partners have been making low rollers relevant for over 19 years. We know how to achieve real satisfaction without losing our shirt. Go to MojoRacingPartners.com and learn how we get our mojo working.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding. Whoa! Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Woo-hoo. Gnarly move, Dad. Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Did you know you might be part of the 75% of Americans who think they waste less food than they actually do? Americans toss out more than $382 billion worth of food, costing an average family of 4 nearly $3,000 annually, and costing our planet even more in wasted resources. But did you also know nearly half of all food waste occurs at the household level, which means there's a lot we can do to reduce all this waste, to help your wallet and the planet. Eating leftovers is great, but things like freezing food that you can't eat right away, donating surplus food within your community, and better understanding food date labels can have an even bigger impact. To learn more, visit World Wildlife Fund at wwf.earth/food waste and spread the word that food should never be trash.
Want to get the latest HRRN content directly on your computer or mobile device? Then subscribe to our podcasts using the Podbean app or Apple Podcasts. Just go to hrrn.podbean.com on your computer and click follow, or download the Podbean app and search HRRN. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts and listen to our latest episodes anytime. Don't miss a thing. Subscribe to our podcasts today. You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Quarter of a mile from home to the first finish line. Fancy Gentleman has to deal with a Junior Alvarado and Bill Mott with Thunderous Lee, who's charging up on the outside. 3 back to Ace Jack Deuce, who gets a rally together, but he's only into third. Final eighth of a mile. It's Mott, it's Alvarado, it's Thunderous Lee, who hits the front late. 2 impressive maiden winners for the Mott team on a Saturday in South Florida. Thunderous Lee wins off by 5 in the end. Fancy Gentleman was second. Third was Ace Jack Deuce, well clear of Redemption Hour in a strung-out group. 145 and 4.
Well, there you have it. Dale was just talking about Bill Mott's big weekend with his maiden winners. Pete Aiello had the call of Thunderous Lee. That was in race number 8 last Saturday. Earlier in the card, he sent out Chief Wallaby. Both of those ridden by Junior Alvarado, and both now graduating from the maiden ranks. By the way, he came back the very next day on Sunday, last Sunday at Tampa Bay Downs, and sent out another maiden special weight winner in Tis Freedom under Edgar Zayas. So yeah, Bill Mott may be sitting there with a few promising youngsters. Well, certainly sitting there with some, but maybe horses that can have an impact as we make our way down the road to the Kentucky Derby. Of course, the big Derby prep today, the Lecomte Stakes. We've been talking about that throughout the morning. Should be a good one in the Bayou in New Orleans. Lee Delapina has the answer to this week's impossible trivia question. Lee, what do you got?
Thank you, Mike. Who was the only horse to ever defeat Lexington in a race? Well, that was a racehorse named Lecomte, the namesake, of course, of today's big race at the fairgrounds. Thanks to Mojo Racing Partners for this week's impossible trivia question. Get your mojo working at mojoracingpartners.com.
And remember, too, that the new Stallions of 2026 is the feature in the January issue of Blood Horse, which is out now. It also includes training the progeny of Twirling Candy. Arthur Hancock III's acumen as a horseman is but just one part of his life story, and it's a fantastic story. And around the globe, the horses deliver the goods in 2025 and a year-end recap and so much more. You can become a subscriber for exclusive content for as little as $59 a year or purchase a single issue at bloodhorse.com. That's bloodhorse.com. Been a busy morning, huh? Covered a lot of ground. I hope you enjoyed the program as always. Of course, the NFL playoffs are in the spotlight this weekend. College basketball, if you're a UK fan, should be a good one with the Tennessee Vols coming up later today. All kinds of sports action. And then you get this road to the Kentucky Derby, road to the Kentucky Oaks ramping up down at the fairgrounds. And you know, you heard Joe Kristufek in his TwinSpires Triple Play pick number 7 Mesquite as his top pick in that Lecomte Stakes today. 8-1 on the morning line, so good value there. If you missed his selections for all 3 races, you can go back and check out the podcast on our website here in just a little bit as soon as we finish up. But Cherie DeVaux, we talked about Bill Mott and his strong hand. Maybe Cherie DeVaux is the one who walks away from the Lecomte as the trainer to keep an eye on as we make our way down the road to the first Saturday in May. We will see. Golden Tempo, Mesquite, part of a strong hand for Cherie in that Lecomte Stakes later today. And again, if you missed it, post time for that race is race number 13, final race out of the card, 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time. My thanks to my producer, Lee Delapina, in our Lexington studios, to Chauncey for handling all of our social media, for all of our guests for making this show possible, and to all of you for tuning in here on this Saturday morning once again. Certainly appreciate it. I'm Mike Penna. We'll talk to you next week, and Steelers officially on the clock. What the hell? Go Steelers.